What did Muhammad Ali do? Muhammad Ali is the first successful experiment in breaking down the Islamic society and establishing a Western state in the Islamic environment. You, Professor Muhammad, have been holding Muhammad since the beginning of the episode. Ali and I judged him. No problem, I'll come to you. I expect you to gradually convince us. Sometimes, when you feel that the situation is becoming too difficult for you, she's saying the result, and guys, don't believe me. Consider this result as subject to testing. Read the history of Muhammad Ali, but read it from the source. Multiple sources. Where did the man come from? Where are you from? Did he come out to us? A soldier sent by the Ottomans with the English evacuated the French after the French campaign. How did he rule Egypt? I realized that scientists are the personality. The strongest at that time was the one who showed the most piety, humility, submission, following scholars, and descending according to their statements. Where is the crisis? What's the problem? This led scientists to see it as a possible alternative. Governor of Egypt. Okay. So this is from the cunning. Political. It is definitely political cunning. A Muslim man came and took over a Muslim country. What about us? Why are we Muslims upset among ourselves? This means that Muhammad Ali turned Egypt into a foreign colony. There are no foreign soldiers in it. So you, excuse me, consider it colonial occupation. Egypt is not normal. If you told the story of Muhammad Ali without saying, anyone can tell you what this occupier's name is. Foreigner. So that's how it turns out in the end. Muhammad Ali established an Eastern despotism using Western means. Oh, and another thing Napoleon failed at in the campaign. Muhammad Ali succeeded in the French language with great efficiency. Greater evidence that the era of Muhammad Ali Pasha was a successful period. Professor Muhammad, you are one of the Europeans. You know it was in their interest for the state to fall, the Ottoman Empire, but it will not fall into the hands of a strongman. May God bless you. If Muhammad Ali is a strong and successful man, he will treat the country. This is outside the scope and context of Muhammad Ali. There is a large phrase called the Muhammad Ali Project. It is Muhammad Ali's project. Every group of people with their own ideas bestowed upon Muhammad Ali a project from them. The era of Muhammad Ali had lasting effects that extend to today. Tyranny and despotism in terms of centrality, where foreign influence is present. His case is strange in terms of adopting secularism and distancing oneself from Sharia law in terms of controlling all resources. Peace be upon you, my brothers, wherever you are. Welcome to a new episode of the series 100 Questions in History. This series is from. Throughout it, we always answer questions. The saltiness, or as it's popularly called, that's how we're doing. Doubts that have been raised about our Islamic history. Where is the large, wide one for those who have recently joined us? We have arrived. We are still, of course, on the 9th axis, the axis or era of foreign colonialism. Where have we arrived? Specifically, up to episode 54. As we have always known, it is not right to start. This episode is absolutely not related to anything in the slightest, without welcoming her regular guest professor. Welcome, Professor Mohammed Al-Harmi. Welcome, Abu Al-Harith. May God bless you. Professor Muhammad, we have reached question number 86. That's a rather difficult question, so I won't waste any time. Secondly, before I begin, I will ask the question directly. Do you remember in the last episode we talked about the French campaign in Egypt? We couldn't believe it. I mean, that she's leaving the Egyptian campaign. Yes, and so we were happy it went back to normal. I mean, once again, others fell under the protection of the Ottoman Caliphate. But here, Egypt also began to enter a new phase, the era of Muhammad Ali Pasha and his family until the occupation. British, therefore, yes, when you open the file of Muhammad Ali Pasha, Professor Muhammad, and when you read his history, it comes to mind a set of questions, including, for example, why, if one of us wanted to talk about the beginning, Westernization, specifically, is the beginning of its emergence. The modern state, let's say, has its direction towards Egypt, specifically starting from Muhammad Ali Pasha. So what is the story of this man? Where did this come from? Where did this man come from? How did he rule Egypt? What he did specifically? Honestly, it's huge and impressive. I mean, countries that have lived longer. He did much more than what he did. Overall, in the end, I'm starting to get closer to you. I won't leave the matter without suspicion. Meaning, what is the overall assessment of his project in nation building? Modern, advanced, powerful, superior. We can't ignore it. Our eyes, meaning, and so were his sons also able to do so, that they continue. This project was started by their father. Yes, when you ask all these questions, you will arrive. Now, to the bigger question, and here of course you'll have to bear with me. Professor Muhammad, why is this country so powerful? The superior system built and developed by Muhammad Ali. His sons with modern foreign expertise. It fell under British occupation after 70 years of this growth, development, and evolution, and because we are professors. In his series 100 Questions in History, Muhammad poses, the suspicions raise urgent questions. Does anyone know? He'll ask us, so, is it normal for Muhammad Ali to be like that? Other than that means they opened his file and studied it normally. Where is the crisis? Where is the problem? Yes, there is a disagreement between historians and thinkers, politicians and intellectuals. Yes, and even the people are discussing the restrictions on Muhammad Ali's case and the verdict against him. Or is the disagreement about Muhammad Ali about what he accomplished? Or about the price society paid for achievement? Before you begin to answer, Professor Muhammad will ask us a question. There's also someone sitting there in the corner telling us, we are not in the axis of foreign colonialism. We're waiting for you to tell us. French on British on Spanish on Portugal. We're not waiting for you to tell us about Muhammad Ali. What we are at the center of colonialism. Yes, so you, excuse me, consider it colonial occupation. For Egypt, it's not normal for a Muslim to come and take over a country. Why are we Muslims amongst ourselves? They're upset. It's normal. A Muslim is coming. The monotheists have arrived. They crushed the Almoravids and ruled. What came? The Abbasids overthrew the Umayyads and ruled. So why? Opening the file on Muhammad Ali Pasha as usual. Professor Muhammad, I am engaged in remembrance and supplication, and you are engaged in prayer. God willing, this is a good answer, and may God bless you. Please go ahead. Mister, in the name of God, and praise be to God, and prayers and peace be upon. May God's messenger, his family, his companions, and those who follow him greet you. God, Abu al-Harith, what God wills. Broad question. That's a broad question. And I won't hide from you that it's Muhammad Ali. For me personally, no matter how much I talk about it, and no matter how much I study it, in lectures, research papers, or books, the file is still broad and large, and much of it remains unknown, by the way. We too, for over 200 years, the unknown remains. The history of Muhammad Ali is great, not small. Wow, yes, or meaning, I say, my Lord, expand my breast for me and ease my task for me and make lawful for me what I ask of you. And not in my tongue prevents me from understanding what I say. Let me begin. Who is the last smart guy sitting in? What is this angle? The important question is, hey everyone, we're in the axis of colonialism. You're supposed to be talking to us about a foreign occupation, so why? You're talking about Muhammad Ali. This is a sad story, as you mentioned. They say, Muhammad Ali simply, clearly, and very briefly, it is the first successful experiment in breaking up society. Islamic and the establishment of a Western state in the environment. Islamic, as Arnold Toynbee said, what he failed at. Napoleon succeeded in the French campaign, and with the competence of Muhammad Ali, the need that he wanted, Napoleon tried it, but he couldn't do it. This is the thing in which Muhammad Ali succeeded, and Muhammad Ali's success in destroying Islamic society and in establishing a state modeled on the Western style, it is a success that has never happened before, neither with such speed nor with such firmness anywhere in the country, the Ottoman Empire, or even the Ottoman state itself. I mean in Turkey and in Istanbul, or a change that no Ottoman sultan could bear to make. So you're talking about the first success successful experience in breaking and destroying Islamic society and the system, and is the establishment of the state based on the Western model and style. Indeed, it was
ما سماه فيما بعد هنري كيسنجر استبداد شرقي بوسائل غربية. يعني ايه
what
الكلام ده؟
does Eastern despotism by Western means mean? This
الاستبداد
is very
الشرقي
simple. What is the
الاستبداد
idea behind
الشرقي
Oriental
يعني كلمة
despotism?
سلطة طاغية
Eastern
متحكمة.
despotism means a tyrannical,
لكن المعنى
oppressive
سلطة
king,
طاغية
controller.
ده
But
بمثابة
this mighty, tyrannical,
قبيلة
controlling
القريش
king,
العشيرة
he
الكبيرة.
is the chief sheikh
تمام.
of the tribe,
اللي
the sheikh of
هو
the clan.
صحيح عنده ظلم وعنده
The
أكل
big
أموال
one is
وكذا،
complete, and he is
لكن
right. He
مش
has
بيضر
injustice and he
المجتمع
has money and
إنما
wealth,
هو
but he doesn't
يعشق
destroy
أمواله.
society. Those
بس
around him,
صحيح
meaning
ما
the
عندهمش
society
أكل
around
ومواد
him,
من
are
الغذاء
still the
وكذا،
same.
والطرق
What are
العشوائية
the clans
شق
and
عليهم
tribes that
الإجبار
entered into a
إن
war and won
يقبلوا
it
هذه
with?
العروض
People might
ولا
come,
يقبلوا
one
هذه
of the
التعاملات
scientists,
وتنتهي
one
الأمور.
of the tribal
في
elders
النهاية
intercede for this defeated
المجتمع
man to leave. He accepts him
فرض
normally, or
تكوينات
rejects him,
اجتماعية
or
وروابط
accepts him,
مجتمعية،
or pardons him.
ولكن
That's it,
صاحب
and the
القوة هو
matter
الذي
is over, meaning in the end, in
يحكمه ويحكم
society, it is
بالمزاج
based on its social
حسب
formations and connections,
لكن
socially,
الغرب
but
مش
the
هذا
one
الشيء.
who has the
الغرب
first and last word, he
استبداد
is
الغرب ما
ruled,
عندهوش
perhaps, by mood
رئيس
and by
يجي
force,
حد
by a good
يتدخل
man.
ويشرع،
Western
لكن
despotism isn't
اللي
like
اللي
that.
اللي اللي
System.
فيها قوة
Western
وعداء
despotism doesn't have a
الغرب
president
نظام
who,
دولة
someone comes along and
مفكرة
intercedes
كده
for him.
ظلم
So
مفيش
he
سيستم.
intercedes. There's no
تمام.
system in place.
لكن
The one
نشأة
who comes into the
الدولة
world
أو
has tribes
الولايات
and
كانت
clans.
هنا
No, the
من
West's system
البرلمان
of
ومن
government is
الصحافة
unjust
ومن
and chaotic. Here,
الأشياء التي
injustice
تجعل
prevails. System
الملك هو
regulator,
الرئيس
or it
والملك هو
created
رئيس
a kind
العملية.
of parliament, a kind of
تخيل
press,
بقى
the kind of thing
استبداد
that makes
شرقي
a king or
بالجواد الغربي.
president, not absolute authority.
يعني يبقى
Imagine
واحد
what would happen when
يملك
an Eastern
الناس
despotism arises
بالجواد
using the
الغربي
tools of
ويملك
Western.
الأرض
It
كأنها
means there
ملكه
remains one
صحيح.
person who owns the same
ويفتح
things
الحريات
as
حياته
everyone
ويفتح انه
else,
يتحكم
his
في
slaves, and he owns
البهائم
the land as
والحيوانات
if it were his own.
ومعه
He has the
تقنيات
power to
تصلح
change
الطرق
people's lives
والكباري
as if he controls them,
والأسلحة
animals, livestock, and inanimate
وقوة محمد
objects,
علي.
and with it technology, armament, and Western
صحيح.
superiority. This is Muhammad Ali. The danger of Muhammad Ali is that,
الملكي
owner of a Joan
ظاهرة
Cole,
وجود
an American
الاستعمار
historian,
ووجود
calls
الاستعمار.
it the
يعني
phenomenon of the
تخيل مثلا
colony
الاستعمار
existing
الأجنبية
before
ما
the
يدخلهاش
existence
أي
of
حاجة
colonialism. This means that Muhammad Ali turned
ما
Egypt
يشبه
into a
الإسلام
foreign
الدنيوي
colony. It doesn't
وهو
have any
يقصد
foreign
الإسلام الدنيوي.
soldiers or any foreign power.
فهو المحاولة الأولى التي نجح فيها الغرب في
It was the
احتلال
first
البلاد
attempt in
الإسلامية
which the
وتحويل
West
بلدهم
succeeded in penetrating
وفرض
Islamic lands and in converting. The
النظام
country
الإسلامي
transitioned
على
from an
بلاد
Islamic
الإسلام
system and an
استبداد
Islamic
شرقي
environment
بالغربية
to a Western system of this kind of tyranny, Eastern or
طبعا
Eastern tyranny,
أرجع
by
وأقول
Muhammad
مهما
Ali.
قلنا
What's
عن
the
هذا
story with
التاريخ
Muhammad
ولا
Ali? Of
فرق في
course,
هذه
I'll say
الحقائق
it again.
فيظل
No matter
التاريخ
what we say in this
هو
program,
الوحيد
and no
الذي
matter how much we
يحدد
digress, in
مجرى
these
التاريخ.
episodes, science
طبعا
remains
هحاول ما
present
اطولش
in
باسماء
books, and
يعني
certainly no
مش
matter how long
لكن
the episode is, we'll find
لابد
out
من
all the
بدء
details.
التحقيق. إن
God
كل
willing,
من
we
أراد
will try
الحديث
not to make it too
يقرأ
long,
الكتب.
so that it
محمد
doesn't.
علي
We don't want to burden people,
جاء
but
ضمن
this is
الجيش
necessary.
الإسلامي
The
الذي
warning is that, my friends,
أرسله
whoever
الرئيس
wants
المنصور
knowledge,
معالي
to go to the
الرئيس
books. Muhammad Ali was a
جاء في
soldier
مع
who
جيش
came as
الإنجليز
part of the
وانصرف
Ottoman
الإنصاف
army.
بعد
The
انتهاء
one who
الحرب
sent him was sent by the Ottomans
الإنجليز
along
فقط.
with the English. This
محمد
means
علي
there was an Ottoman army
ترك
alongside the
الجيش
British
وليس
army. They disembarked to
سموسية
evacuate the French
فقط.
after the end of the campaign.
وكانت نقطة
French, at
اتجاه
that time, Muhammad Ali was a commander of a group, meaning it's not our high-ranking position,
نقطة
just a squad leader, and I joined.
وبالتالي
Egypt at that time was in a state you could call a state of emergency. From chaos. What does it mean? A state of chaos has ended. Napoleon. Therefore, Egypt remained torn between several trends. The Mamluks who were present in Egypt, they judged it based on reality, thinking, they're going back to their country, they're thinking of going back. Okay. Ottomans, those who nominally controlled Egypt, are thinking they will return to rule it effectively. It is nominally under their control. Now they want to actually rule it again. The English aren't afraid that they too will leave Egypt, or they don't want to leave Egypt because the French returned to it once again, and it remained a powerful force. English is available in Egypt. The sheikhs of Al-Azhar who reached the pinnacle of leadership, and of course, when the Ottomans collapsed and the sun set. The Mamluks were the people who took over the administration. The country and its representatives were the sheikhs of Al-Azhar, Arhar. Therefore, this is also a social force, meaning she aspires to have something, not just the natural aspiration. The governors who have a say in the fate of the country, the Ottomans sent them, but it takes place outside Egypt but affects it, including the Wahhabi movement has expanded, of course. It started in Najd, but it expanded and began attacking Iraq, and the Levant was attacked, and its convoys were also targeted. The Ottoman pilgrimage that was in the Caliphate, the Ottoman Empire, which was present in Istanbul at that time, he is no longer threatened only by the French and foreigners, but his authority over the two holy mosques was threatened, and this was the greatest danger. What could mean the greatest threat to the Sultan? This means the Caliph derives the legitimacy of the Caliphate from his position, custodian of the two holy mosques, and his role as the custodian of the two holy mosques. When a group of rebels arrive, they can block the path of the Hajj caravan. The Ottoman Empire is in crisis, and there remains a crisis in Egypt and in a crisis that exists in, likewise, the weakness that means the state's salary, the Ottoman Empire itself, and the presence of the English army. All this situation resulted in a state of chaos. They are now trying to talk about it, but there is no governor. Iji and Warli are leaving, and Warli is going to the Wahhabis. So he goes and stands in Egypt. This chaos led to chaos within Egypt, and its impact on its people here was that two parties were working. We can say that within this chaos, the first party is this cunning Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali realized that scientists were the most powerful figures at that time, so show piety, humility, and submission, and follow scholars, and their opinions are what made it. Scientists see it as a possible alternative to be governor of Egypt. Okay, he is even a soldier at this moment. A soldier is a squad leader, but the squad leader. This is due to the rapid changes in governors and leaders. The difference is that one is sent to Egypt and one after that. He was ordered to go to the Hijaz. With this rapid change, he's entering a new phase. The conflict, but within the context of the conflict, meaning that this means he demonstrates his leadership and military talents. In controlling his band, for example, when he remains in his band, another undisciplined group is spreading chaos in the country. Muhammad Ali and his team confront her. Muhammad Ali and his group do not appear to have committed any aggression against the people, and no leader appears among these other teams. The submission and reverence shown by scholars is like that which appears from Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali does not obey the Sultan's orders by leaving Egypt or going to the Hijaz, or without it, he enters the lines of conflict between loyalties, those arriving and those departing, considering that I can't leave this place, especially considering that the governor, he is not fit to rule this country with cunning, a politician who was able to disobey the Sultanate's orders, Ottoman, without this constituting a rebellion against her, and he was capable, on the condition that he takes with him the sheikhs who are, they became the dominant force. Okay, this is a line. This is the first line. The second is the line of the French themselves. The French, when they failed in the French campaign, they directed their snipers who were in Egypt. They have two snipers located in Egypt, just like we said, and they have an ambassador present in Astana. Istanbul instructed their consuls to investigate within this Egyptian Ottoman elite about a man who could be a friend to them. The need that we couldn't do it through direct occupation, so we're looking for a way around it. However, Egypt will not escape us completely, and we still have in it a friend of the relationships that were between Muhammad Ali and one of these, the name of the conquistador, Dinat or Ataye de Lesseps, and the second one is his name, Drifty. Muhammad Ali established a successful relationship with sniping. The French consul, Muhammad Ali, was impressed. In French, it is extremely impressive. Both of them plotted with Muhammad Ali how they could, that he should reach the province of Egypt, and both of them sent this recommendation to the French ambassador present in the Astana was named Sebastiani, to support Muhammad Ali's assumption of power in Egypt with, he is not from the Pasha class, He is still a leader, a squad, but the squad leader has now shown two things. The first thing the sheikhs and the people of the town want is, the second thing is that the French agree to it, or the French are pushing for his appointment. This is, of course, when I talk about Muhammad Ali. Despite my deep hatred for him, that's another matter, but the ability. Coming, this means his ability to control and command his soldiers. Al-Jabarti himself says he would have been a great king if he were given some measure of justice. Wow. He forced himself. Yes, so here, of course, the sheikhs are unaware of the agreements with the French are talking about something we only discovered later in the documents. But what did the sheikhs think it was? A religious person who could be a medical guardian. The question here is, why didn't the sheikhs themselves rule? The country is not the strongest entity. They are not the strongest party in the country. Now, yes, because he doesn't want to deviate from the legitimacy of the state. The Ottomans meant the sheikhs. They weren't. They see Egypt as an independent country. For example, the Egyptians rule it. That's the original meaning. This national meaning did not exist at that time. When one of the Ottomans came in the army, the Ottoman, so it's not a kind of departure, meaning now I reject the Ottoman Governor, who is, for example, his name is Khurshid and no one else, because I see him as corrupt, not because I am rebelling against the Ottoman state. Or, if two goals were to be achieved, Muhammad Ali would be in charge. And indeed, Muhammad Ali took over, and his taking over was a popular demand means that Al-Azhar scholars want Muhammad Ali and the French want Muhammad Ali, but the French are working behind the scenes, just like we say, but these are the people of the land, these are they, those who led the demonstrations and deposed the father. The Ottoman Khurshid Pasha and Muhammad Ali were installed despite the nose of the Ottoman Caliph. Yes, Mr. Mohammed, I asked you at the beginning. This is our friend who went hungry in the corner. He's the one talking. Why are you opening the Muhammad Ali file in this thread? Colonial era. Okay, because this is the first case in our Islamic history. The governor is appointed, meaning he will become governor soon. He's a ruler because he came through the colonizer, because he came through the French. It's not a case, meaning capabilities, personality, but this wasn't apparent. It was personal and individual abilities. Everything was Ottoman, but it was not apparent. We say this because it will not emerge from the policy. Muhammad Ali then means simply and completely clarity. If you told the story of Muhammad Ali without, if you say his name, anyone will ask you what his name is. Foreign occupier are, so that's how it turns out in the end. That's how it turns out in the end, meaning if you said the story and I said, for example, Napoleon. For example, I didn't say Muhammad Ali. If someone doesn't know history and you come, I told him the story of Egypt and said instead of Muhammad Ali, always Napoleon, he would absolutely believe that the French do that. I said, for example, the English commander Wilson, or I don't know, he would absolutely believe that he would do that if I told him. Muhammad Ali would not believe, this man was one of our own people and they spoke with our tongues, but his policy in governance and in destruction, the Islamic community and its support from foreigners, and supporting non-Muslims is a policy of occupation, nothing more. It contains a purely occupying policy. You, Professor Muhammad, have been holding Muhammad since the beginning of the episode. Ali, and I judged him. Yes, I expected you to explain a little and convince us, but no, it's fine. Sometimes, when you feel that the situation is becoming too difficult for you, she's saying the result, and guys, don't believe me. Consider this result as subject to testing. Read the history of Muhammad Ali, but read it from the source. Multiple sources, meaning not just from the sources that I glorified and praised Muhammad Ali, but now we will say some things. Okay, in short, what did Mr. Muhammad Ali do in Egypt? Meaning what is the first thing we say? For example, a story. Muhammad Ali in Egypt. Let me say it again. The formula for the results and the people who tested Muhammad Ali was always passionate about the war with Muslims. He never wanted to fight a foreigner. Okay, or you'll never find him willing to go to war. He is not a Muslim, yet he always wages war against Muslims. All of Muhammad Ali's victories over the Muslims Muslims. He never fought foreigners without being defeated. Actually, yes, we now have Muhammad Ali as a ruler, which is close to. He ruled for half a century, from 1805 to 1848. Yeah, so you're talking about approximately 43 years. This is a good opportunity to document the campaign's story. But let's go along with you. Okay, sir, how is each story of Muhammad told chronologically? Okay, good, good. Their deception and treachery were complete. It was their determination to hold a party inside the castle. Then he locked them inside the castle and opened fire. This is in very brief terms. In short, this is a colossal betrayal and a betrayal of people. At that time, they did not expect anything. It surges in their brains, meaning when you're with Muhammad Ali, you'll forget Islamic morals, and they left it aside. Okay, from 1811 up to 1820, this was considered a second stage because it was 1820. He began by invading Sudan, and when Sudan is invaded, we will open a very large file. His name is the file of massacres he committed in Sudan. Muhammad Ali saw or had the idea that Sudan is overflowing with gold and we need money. An Egyptian campaign led by his son Ismail went. The expedition found no gold. He said, okay, fine, bring it. Slaves for the army. Oh, the army, not the slaves. Okay, he didn't commit any massacres, but he wants. Let me tell you what it means. For example, 20,000 people, Sudanese, on the basis that he is creating an army from them. 20,000 of them reached Aswan, 3,000 of whom were alive. Oh, kind one. The rest of the story is about death, a consequence of the oppressive circumstances in the road to the heat. It means depression because he took a slave who was being led away. A slave due to the lack of important healthcare, lack of harmony with the important atmosphere. 3,000. This is what made him think about recruiting Egyptians. The Sudanese are useless, and that's what made him think. In the recruitment of Egyptians, we still have 1820 campaigns. The campaign against Sudan, I say, you have massacres in it, other than the 20,000 DL issue. $20,000 is a normal number, a simple number, for example, but at that time, it was a large number. I mean, that's a small number compared to the massacres he committed. Because, for example, his son Ismail dealt with everything: violence, severity, and oppression by the Sudanese rulers. One of them, from the rulers, when he meant taxes, he told him, if you don't bring them, I'll put you on the stake. And this is a big deal among his people. And in his place, he couldn't believe it. He was shocked and found nothing, but he shows submission to Ismail's resolve. He surrounded the place with straw and lit a fire to finish it off. From the fate of the stake, oh God. Then he killed his son Ishmael. One of Muhammad's followers came. His name is Daftar Dar. He said, opposite Ismail, I will kill 20,000 Sudanese people in 3 days. 3,000 were killed. Look, you're talking about a case of massacres that this happened in Sudan. Of course, all of this, it doesn't appear in Egyptian national history books. This is how it appears, and it also appears in another way. But the important thing, from 1820 to 1830, this was considered a second phase. In 1830, Ali began his invasion of Syria and his wars. Ottoman Empire, rule of Syria. He has now arrived in Kutir, in the heart of Anatolia. It means he was on the outskirts of Istanbul. This is the beginning of the great clash and weakness, the great one who dealt with the Ottoman Empire. Muhammad Ali defeated all the Ottoman armies, up to 1840. It is the moment when Muhammad Ali was defeated by Imam Ottoman-British-Russian alliance. This is the moment when Muhammad Ali's project faded away. This means that Muhammad Ali relinquished control of his army's structure, the military arsenal of this huge, massive army. He gave it up after it was 370 or 3,800, before it was 18,000. Dismantled the military arsenal in exchange for Egypt remaining in power, and Sudan, under his rule and that of his son after him, means it establishes something resembling self-rule or an emirate. Self, and here you can say that the son of Muhammad Ali has set His achievements were divided between two categories, while his shortcomings remained, and its problems. From 1840 to 1848 until his death, none remained. The state of Muhammad Ali was nothing but tyranny and dictatorship. And that's it. The achievements are over. This is the general political history of Muhammad Ali's thought. I should have said that, and I forgot. In 1811, I said the massacre of the Mamluks occurred, and it began. With it, the Wahhabi War, and with it began years of the invasion of the Levant, and then 8 years later he sunset in Muhammad Ali's image. That's the general picture. How many years did he rule? Approximately from 1805 to 1848. For 48, at 48 he developed dementia, meaning he lost his mind. His mental faculties were impaired, and the rule passed after him to his son Abraham. Ibrahim Pasha's son was also his right-hand man. His right hand was planted, and he was like his father, and you can to say that he had the same skill as his father means that the least military man was an unrivaled military leader. Dust, yes, with severity, cruelty, sharpness, and immorality. This is not an issue. Second means, and this is Ibrahim, who arrived almost. Ibrahim is the one who reached Kete, yes. Keter, yes. And Ibrahim, this is a 6-month sentence, meaning a sentence in. He lived during his father's lifetime and died during his father's lifetime. But his father at that time was senile and did not know the dead of Abraham. Therefore, his nephew succeeded Ibrahim as ruler. Abbas I, son of Torsan, son of Muhammad Ali. He was the eldest male descendant of Muhammad Ali. Yeah, okay, yes, it means the first one to take over after the death. Muhammad Ali was his grandson. Yes, well, Qasim was the eldest son, but he died during his father's lifetime. He died while returning from one of his raids in the Arabian Peninsula to fight Warabis. Yes, okay, that's how it is in general. And after Abbas I, we continue like this quickly with the sons. After Abbas I, well, this Abbas I, my master ruled for 6 years, from 1848 to 1854. Tamam Abbas I, if the time comes, God willing. God is the anomaly in the case of Muhammad Ali, the anomaly. In his family, he was the only one who was somewhat religious. The only one who listened to the sheikhs he hates foreigners. He was the only one who sympathized with them, the Arabs, and he had them even in the days of his grandfather and his uncle. Ibrahim is at odds with them, and he is the one who is most wronged. In Egyptian history, he is Abbas because he is accused of being. He destroyed what Muhammad Ali did. I'm saying. Egyptian history shines brightly over Muhammad Ali. Ibrahim and Seed shine, and Ismail shines, and then he comes to Abbas and tells you, this Abbas is, the problem is that he ruined everything that happened. The truth is, Abbas was the only one who was religious. He listened to the opinions of the elders and was not tyrannical by the Egyptians, and he is the one who removed the taxes from Egyptians. Abbas ruled for 6 years, therefore, his life ended in a mysterious assassination that remains unsolved to this day. Now unknown, some historians believe that foreigners, they had a hand in his assassination because this assassination is his. Who paved the way for the first ruler he raised? Foreigners, and he is said son of Muhammad Ali. His young son, his uncle was his son. The brother was older than his uncle. Okay. So Seed is someone who grew up in the embassy. The French guy was someone who loved the French, and they love him, or he hates religion and religious people. This is Seed, the fourth one, meaning Seed is the fourth. Yes, if we said Muhammad Ali is 1, Ibrahim is 2, Abbas is 3, Seed is 3. 4 of them ruled from 1854 to 1863. That means 9 years and a bit. Seed, that was the first governor Rabbi at the foreign embassy, and, as I'm telling you, he liked foreigners. He hated people, but he supported education, secular and Christian education, and what it supports, Islamic education, rather than love. rather closes schools, Islamic or civil. The first to sponsor missionary work was Saliyat. In Egypt, yes, he committed the two great sins. Egypt paid a heavy price for these two things, and that price was consent. On the digging of the Suez Canal and the beginning of the debts. Happy countries, yeah, yes, and for foreigners, establishing a new era means renewing it. Muhammad Ali, or even more. After said came Khedive Ismail. Khedive Ismail. This is from 1863. Ismail Dar ruled for approximately 16 years until 1879. There remained a man who wanted to make Egypt a piece of Europe. So whatever you want, I mean whatever you want. They were in control of the country. The army leadership, meaning the leaders. The army commander is a foreigner. The head of customs is a foreigner. The head of the postal service is a foreigner. The commander of the area was a foreigner, and his term ended. Foreign ministers. Well, in Egypt people are holding on a little. It's as if he even stopped, meaning he stopped my promotion. Egyptians, even in the army and even in parliament, have their work done. In order to imitate, the West still has a parliament like ours, so it's the same thing. What was this man's main goal? Egypt is a piece of Europe, all the way to Cairo, the Khedivate that was established by the one who is the space between Cairo and the Nile. That's what it is now. Tahrir Square and its surroundings and Garden City. All of this is about Khedive Cairo. Ismail's work was in the French style. When you go down to the middle, we call it that. Now, downtown, back in the day, the areas. The new one, you're seeing a part of Paris, that's for sure. The existing buildings and the shape of the squares. These places were inhabited by foreigners. They weren't. It includes Egyptians, even the very full ones. Yeah, and what was revealed in it was in the language spoken there. It's the French language, meaning people don't speak it. Arabic in this area, foreign neighborhoods. Yeah, okay, and it remained that way for a long time. These are places. Ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, okay, yes. After him, Ismail was deposed following a rebellion in the army, and he was succeeded by Khedive Torfik, his son. Khedive Torfik, from 1879 until this one needs further explanation. Yeah, Khedive Torfik, when the Urabi revolt occurred, he is the one who brought the English to occupy the country. The English landed to occupy the country in defense of Khedive's authority. This is happening for the first time in our history. Islamic foreign occupation comes to establish rule. The nationalist between Kassan remained. Yes, okay. So for the first time here, the occupation is united. Foreigners and local tyranny. For the first time you see, it is the existing system in this country. Islamic system serving foreign purposes and foreign interests were harmed to such an extent that foreign armies land there to establish this, the ruling. Yeah, indeed. The British established this system of government until the year 192. What happened with the July military coup, and then what happened? The departure of the English in 1956. Within the larger vision, there remained a post-war period. The Second World War, which is the legacy of occupation. American, for the British occupation, because the July Revolution is in. The truth is that it is an American tool that has been removed. British occupation. It means the British entered in 1882. Yeah, they came out 1900. Yes, more than 70 years. Yeah, how did they manage to stay for more than 70 years? The answer is this. The question is with Muhammad Ali. Yes, we'll go back to him. Muhammad Ali, we're sitting here. Ode, but that's the general understanding. That is, in the verse, British occupation within the British occupation. I mean, it remained under the control of the occupation. British, if you continue in the lineage of Muhammad Ali. Khedive Torfik ruled for 10 years and died while small 1892. His son, who was 18 years old, succeeded him. Abers Roman II. Abers Hilmi Roman II. Abers Hilmi Roman II ruled from 1892 to 1914. Yeah, World War I began in 1914. The English said that this Khedive had certain tendencies. Ottoman, of course that wasn't true at all. What does that even mean? They just wanted someone smoother. From him they removed him, and they installed the eldest member of Muhammad Ali's family in. At that time his name was Sultan Hussein Kamal. They gave him the title of Sultan because Egypt had already separated. Regarding the Ottoman state, it had a sultan, the Ottoman Sultan. We are no longer a Khedive subordinate to the Sultan, a parallel sultan to the Sultan. Carlers. Britain announced protection. He is Professor Muhammad. The word is Khedive. This is a position. Khedive is a title, a Persian title meaning prince, or in other words, deputy king. There are three cheeks. In the three cheeks, Ismail and Torfik and Abers the second dream. Well, Hussein Kamal didn't live long. That's just how it is. He was large, then he was brought after him. King Fuad was named after, of course, Sultan, and then King Fuad. Farouk and King Farouk. This is the one who was deposed July 1952 coup, and then came Abel Nasser. Yeah, okay, fine. This is the general picture, meaning this periodization, the year of Muhammad Ali's rule and his family, yes, which is approximately 147 years. You start from 1805, that's the beginning, until 1952. Yeah, okay, so they'll come out at 147, let's make it 150, sir. We don't have a special discount. Okay, what is this general classification, Professor Muhammad? This is general classification. Yes, I want to pause at an important sentence I told it a little while ago, but now let's go back again. A second for Muhammad Shabab, opening the Muhammad Ali bow, so we need to go back to Muhammad Ali, of course. Why? They opened every file on Muhammad Ali because it's related to the topic. In colonialism, in domination, in occupation, in England, they entered, meaning he entered with us in this axis. Ud, you said that a sentence you repeated more than once was devastating. The Muslim community in Egypt. Okay, yes, what did Muhammad do? Good, what did he do? May God bless you. Of course, the people, those who attended the last episode with us. It's about the French campaign. They'll be more understanding though. We will say it now. We said that Napoleon was the first to. He went down to Egypt and ordered the people to be disarmed. The salvation of Muhammad Ali is that he succeeded in stripping people of their dignity from the weapon completely. Muhammad Ali, he was able to disarm the people until this indicates his insistence on this matter. He disarmed the people after the victory. People are under foreign occupation, attempting to occupy. Imagine a foreigner imagining Muhammad Ali in a battle, being chased. The Mamluks in Upper Egypt in a battle in Upper Egypt. At that time, an English campaign called Fraser's Campaign against the city of Rosetta in 1807. People were able, with their simple weapons, they could resist this campaign, and if they overpower her, she will turn away from him. Okay, what would you think now if you were the ruler and your city protected you from foreign occupation by force of arms? Simple means normal, natural that you, by honoring them, you mean that you at least strive to transferring this experience to the border cities so that's what's happening. And if you see how they triumphed, how can you increase your? These fortifications were the first thing Muhammad Ali reached. The news, he said, well, that's good, but he shouldn't stay in. People's hands are a weapon. War is the job of the military and the people. They have to pay for the fodder. People pay money. What is the purpose of this war? Military job. Military. This is a starting point from which you can grasp what Muhammad Ali was like. He thinks and looks at the people. These are the people who know she resists and knows how to triumph over foreigners. Even if you think of rebelling against authority, it will prevail. Therefore, the method he adopted was disarming people. This is what he succeeded in, remaining on Ali. Throughout his reign, this involved stripping people of. This weapon led us to the conclusion that the weapon, when it became monopolized by the official army, led to a result. The important thing is that the English benefited from it in the collapse of the official army equals the collapse of country. Defeating the official army is tantamount to occupying the country. Entering the capital is equivalent to entering the country. This means that when the Mamluks were defeated, it did not stop resistance during the French campaign. The French defeated the Mamluks, yet resistance persisted. The people did not stop resisting, but when they were defeated, the Egyptian army in the Battle of Al-Tarli al-Kabir, 1882, the resistance dissipated. No one was able to resist anymore because all the weapons were gone. Whose hands are they with? It remained with the official army, and that his shadow still remains to this day. The moment I'm talking to you right now, this issue of disarmament is the issue at hand. In every story of occupation, and in every story of tyranny and control, yes, the length of the weapons are in the hand, the official army only. This means that this country has one center of power multiplied by that one center of power. Its collapse. Tamam, that's why Western countries and even Israel feels secure with official armies and has no fears. This includes the fear of weapons becoming. When he said that we were in an agreement, David Benkal said, "We don't want the Egyptian army in Sinai. Take the Egyptian army and leave us the Bedouin." And beauty is what he sees as the distancing of armament from Sinai is separate from Israel, meaning that's what will make, yes, Israel is safe. He says, or, oh God, if I could go back in time, I would say, bring them here, the Egyptian army, and take the Bedouin and the camels, safe with the official armies, in a state of safety. With official armies, however, weapons remain. The weapons are with the people, not the people. This is something that threatens any tyranny and something that threatens any occupation. We return to Muhammad Ali. We say that he succeeded in disarming the people. But let me get into the topic of Muhammad Ali instead. I'm not going to tell them, it's just an appearance, it seems. They're scattered. Let me organize them. By God, Professor Muhammad. A brief introduction to Islamic society since its inception. It means that he rose up and developed in Islamic life. Islam organized society in this way. There remains a balance between authority and the people. The authority and society are completely different. The authority is very strong, and the society is strong. Okay, how is this achieved? It is achieved by the authority has limited powers in society. His powers are broad, and it is done so that people have them. She has the ability to self-finance. She has money. Money in people's hands is not power. Power, in its true essence, is money and weapons. Power is money and weapons, of course. If we go beyond that, the idea of intellectual strength and the idea of cohesion remained. This is just what I meant to say, the physical tools of power. What is it? Money and weapons. Yes, so, therefore, the Islamic rule will remain, no matter what. There were deviations in it, and whatever corruption occurred within it, it maintained this balance. The state or authority has the ability to, or then the important task of carrying out major public duties. Jihad abroad is about maintaining security at home, and what it relates to that. As for society, it is the one that has the economy. Those who have education are the ones who have culture. He's the one who has all these activities and everything else. This happens without the dominance and control of the authorities. The authority is happy to help, welcome, and blessings. This is the work of princes who always love progress, their country. But suppose that didn't happen. This does not mean that a failure on the part of the authorities to perform their duties means if the prince hadn't built a hospital, no one would have seen that. This prince is negligent. The prince will be negligent if he doesn't build schools. No one will see that this prince is not falling short. But the prince built schools and hospitals. This is one of the best of princes, Tamam, Tayyib, who does all that. These things are a social activity, an activity carried out. The activities that people engage in are from. Where does its funding come from? Its funding comes from the invention, the brilliant Islamic institution institution called Orcaf endowments. What are endowments? Endowments means, for example, I have a shop, or I have land, or I have a source of money, instead of, for example, me going out for 10. What did you do with the pound you spent every month? I said this shop, the one I have that earns 10 pounds every month, this one. It became an endowment for God. I dedicated it to God. Its literal meaning, according to jurisprudence, is that it came out of my property belongs to God. Of course, everything belongs to him. God, this is just a concession from so-and-so, which means the owner of the property. God is good. This is based on him. The judiciary generally manages endowments. Judges are a structured part of society. The Islamists are independent of the authorities, meaning the judiciary is completely independent of the executive branch. I think we talked about this when we talked about Solomon, the legal system, and the judge. That's his entire psychological makeup. The social and scientific spheres are completely separate from the authority. It's just that the authority places him in an administrative position. It means you're telling him, you're the judge of such and such place, or you are the chief judge. So, wealth of the Islamic community, most of them were in the hands of the people and could not. The authority is to get closer to it, because these are sacred endowments. There's nothing wrong with them. Islam is called state money or public funds. Whoa. The Muslims are all the same. Our master Muawiyah used to say this, money is money, and he disagrees with him. He says, no, it's the Muslims' money. So what's the difference? What is the difference between the two, Abu Dihar and him? He says, the Muslims' money, the word Muslim money, by narrowing the mandate granted to the caliph to act in money. Do you understand when you say the Muslims' money is the treasury? Muslims' money is ultimately for Muslims. What is narrowing? The mandate granted to the caliph is narrowing. Regarding the handling of money, there is nothing in Islam that prohibits it. Its name is state money. Its name is Muslims' money. Okay, and that's why, by the way, even in the rulings, the jurists said that theft means that if something happens to me, no, God's will be done, and something was stolen from Murad. There is a punishment for it, but what if she stole from the public treasury? Muslims have a second, lesser punishment. By the way, it's not a harsher punishment. Yeah, why? Because he has a right to the public treasury. Yes, brothers. Okay, but there's more to it than that. The point here is that when Sultan Selim came to Egypt, he found that 40%, in another account, 66% of Egypt's cultivated land, endowments. Wow, this means that most of the money in the country, it is in the hands of the people, not the authorities. When you enter a country like Egypt, you find 2/3 she won't know how to manage her money, or 40% of it. In it, one of Sultan Selim's sons tempted him. He tempted him by promising to seize the endowments. So he said to this, we have previously set aside funds, so we do not want them to be disabling it by us, so we left it. Or, of course, some princes and sometimes some kings tried that they seize the endowment funds or take. Because of this, scholars have always confronted them. This money was used to fund scholars and jurists, and your funding offends, and your funding israr, meaning you have a huge upper influenced by money. So, society has money and it's in its hands. He owns a weapon and manages many activities himself. Yes, what will Muhammad Ali do then? You, Professor Muhammad, help us understand the relationship between people and the state. How did he shape his relationship with the Muslim community? Okay, what did Muhammad Ali do? He destroyed all of this and placed all power in the hands of the authorities. Concentrated in the hands of the authority, and the authority is in a state of Muhammad Ali means strength. Yeah, okay. So it seems that imposing taxes on endowments, it is assumed that these endowments are funds. It is designated for charitable work, meaning for spending on charitable works. Good deeds include spending on mosques and on. The preachers told them, I am the one who will take the verse. I'll take this money. He spent it on a building, mosques, and preachers. Okay, then someone comes along, excuse the expression, a fool. He says, so what, brother, what's the problem? instead of remaining as long as the intention is one and the same, which is spending on mosques and spending on sheikhs and the spending, and as long as the state knows how to do that with greater efficiency and more accurate calculations, and you don't do it. State, what's your problem? Or, the serious problem is that money is an element of power. The enormous amount moved from the community to the authority. So even if I assume, here I am with you, meaning, even if the ruler who comes will be, he truly possesses integrity, competence, and accuracy in endowments work. Even if this happened, why is it against Islam? It is contrary to Islam because it removes one power from another. Society places its position in the hands of the ruler, so the ruler is in a position of authority. The next person will take it and drink wine with it. He sells them to foreigners and lets them fly in the air. Or, the source of strength is out, you know, like the one who tells you, yes, why are you carrying a weapon, brother? Just give it to me, and I will protect you. Yeah, okay. So when you disarm yourself and take a pledge, your protection is with him, even if I'm trustworthy at this stage. The first one, but it doesn't guarantee anything. Nobody can guarantee anything. Change will happen. Will someone like you come after you? That's it. What Muhammad Ali did began with imposing taxes on the endowments. Then he seized the endowments. It seems, first, taxes were imposed on endowments, and then, is the land you own actually endowed land? Bring me proof that it is an endowment, and this is not the time. You search for what people have in their hands, so whoever has something in their hand, it is his property unless proven otherwise, meaning that, now there is one present on this land, his property, or this land is an endowment, and he manages it. Do you have proof that he doesn't have it, or that this isn't the case? That's right. He's the one who should bring it out. He's not the one who should go to the trouble of producing the. Yes, the evidence is required from the state, not the other way around. The opposite is true, of course, and apparently Baybars was unable to second attempts, but they couldn't. I mean, the point is that Muhammad Ali began to seize power. Regarding endowments, what does it mean to seize them? The endowments of Sheikh Muhammad Abda, 100 years after Muhammad Ali, he explained it with numbers and said he seized what was al-Azhar endowments, and he imposed something on him by 4,000 piasters. Okay, fine. The value of the crops that were seized, how much is 500,000? Shark, 500,000. To imagine, the ruler, when he saw al-Azhar, which had half its members entering it, how much did he receive from his endowments? 4,000. Therefore, al-Azhar was one of the institutions that collapsed. The days of Muhammad Ali and after them collapsed, leaving everything behind. It collapsed on all levels. Instead of al-Azhar being the beautiful, verdant, meaning the rebel against the French campaign collapsed, al-Azhar during the time of Muhammad Ali and became the life of his sons. Woe to whoever reads this! What were the students of al-Azhar like at that time? I mean, from the time of Muhammad Ali and after him, he smile. For example, there's this English traveler named Richard Burton visited Egypt during Abars's reign. Muhammad Ali went directly to al-Azhar and started speaking on the dilapidated al-Azhar. The one that is not clean is the one that contains nonsense. Food that contains fatigue means the conditions of its sheikhs. Tired of a book, for example, that's available online. His name is derived from the ethics of scholars, referring to a Sharia judge. His name was Muhammad Suleiman, and he was telling the story of how he was there. The lighting in al-Azhar was as bright as he could see. The person, it's not brighter than this. You would see the students of al-Azhar. They are sitting, meaning they have brought the lamp and put it down. The text is like this, and everyone who wants to read it, for example, in the book he has is the lamp in the middle, and they were all asleep around him, each one lying on his side. The lamp is in the middle, and then what's the circuit? from the heads, and each one is lying on his side so that he can read the speech. In addition to, for example, Muhammad Suleiman Bard in the same book says that my father was organized and was from the highest salary attained by senior Al-Azhar scholars. He is ranked, meaning he is the last ranked scholar of Al-Azhar, £3, while the teacher's salary at Dar al-Ulum was £12 or £20. There will be massive destruction of Al-Azhar. I might come after that, just a little bit. But the point here is that when the endowments were seized from the hands of society and placed in the hands of the authorities, it was taken from them. The society, a tremendous and formidable center of power, and a tremendous center of power. What did that terrible guy do? Social collapse between scholars and authority. There was a time of scholarly power. He didn't need the Sultan for anything, and he didn't. He takes a salary from the Sultan. That's why many scientists used to flee from. Why is the judiciary running away from the judiciary? Is it afraid? He is either hesitant to rule unjustly or he is afraid and hesitant. He is favoring the Sultan, but he doesn't want to be prisoner of the judiciary's salary. Oh wow, what's the problem with the sheikhs now? And scientists in our time are all employees. Yes, and no one can move outside the circle of the state. Yes, they are all salaried employees. He tells you the judge has a high salary. Study hard, my friend, so your salary will be high. This is it. Now there has also been a separation between the judge and the sheikh said, now I'm telling you, look, Sheikh Zaman, yeah, his salary wasn't coming from the government when the sheikh became an employee. His status and position with regard to the authorities declined and he remained unable to lead society and unable to standing up to the Sultan if he is unjust, or even unable to escape or flee from his tyranny. Yes, good, okay, Mr. Mohammed, so you mean you want to, she says, and the viewer also wants to tell you, you and 20 students sit next to the lamp so that study the book. Yes, and therefore Muhammad Ali now controlled the weapon, and then he took control of the endowments. Endowments, you are telling us about the manifestations of societal oppression. Yes, okay, but let me tell you that these are signs of control. These endowments have their own concept. It has many aspects. It's just an appearance. Al-Azhar, and from it only the appearance of the sheikhs who have declined their status, and from it the appearance, even the degradation of people's faces. Notables, for example, Ibrahim Pasha during his campaign. Al-Jabarti is quite similar in this regard, saying, he did in Upper Egypt what the Tartars did. The man was brought from the masters of Upper Egypt and tied up. It means it is rotated on a skewer like a sheep. Roasting is a form of torture. He is tortured by burning. Okay, so these many endowments are for prominent figures. People used to be like this in our modern times. No one can imagine what Islamic society is like. The time of Islamic society was the time of the village. The rich man there is not a feudal lord. The European styled the rich man in the village. It had social costs. For example, he had everything. The Day of the Guardian, he sets it up for the people, especially in Ramadan is here, or during Hajj, meaning people are in, guests coming to him. According to established customs, there is a guest coming who will go to the rich man who is present. In this country, the rich man hosts and honors him if Hajj inside or outside, meaning a group of pilgrims. When Ibrahim Pasha found someone who said to you, what are all these acres of land for? They tell him, this is one of the town's notables, adding, the stranger feeds the hungry, and the pilgrim adds, saying, he has nothing to do with any of this. I'll leave it to you. From all your lands, I'll get enough for you and your family, and the rest of this is all up to the state. He told him medicine, and the hungry people and the people who will come. He told him, it's none of your business if they starve to death, or the state's logic is what are you going to do with this money? What are you going to do with all this money? There are social obligations in the hands of the people and in. Is it the hunger that is a calamity, or the pilgrim's calamity? So here, what Sheikh Mohammed Abba called breaking the Bass occurred. The locals, the natural force that existed among the general public, the people among the notables and dignitaries were broken by it. These actions are kind and the viewer tries to continue with his imagination. His imagination continues as he envisions what it will be like when you have money. There's a lot of it, and you can do a lot of good with it. And you spend it on so many people. What do you do? Why should you only have enough for yourself and your family? With appreciation, the authority isn't even up to your discretion. Naturally, okay, the second thing is, after that, of course, there are many things. We are in the process of becoming a modern state. Its centrality are, he adopted the policy that he was the sole producer and cultivator. The only trader, I am the country and the country. I am the country and the country is me. What does the farmer mean? The only one, meaning for the first time in history, Egyptians are fleeing their land. They are known to be very attached to their lands, but they are mocked for this and are called farmers, sons of the land. You are stuck to the ground, and that's why you are humiliated, enslaved, and oppressed. It means the strong attachment of Egyptians to their land. They sometimes mock her for it. For the first time in the time of Muhammad Ali, you will find the peasants. Why are they running away from the land, teacher? Because of the large number, the taxes imposed on them, which they cannot afford, that they paid. You had a new tax every now and then, a tax on land, tax on crops, individual tax on heads means even the children and even young children and even women. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? They were able to pay these taxes, but they were exposed for torture and punishment, and perhaps he died under torture. It means whipping. It means killing. What does that mean? It's up to you and your luck what punishment you'll receive. Because of you, even when people see that they do not, they can pay taxes, they run away. They run away. They leave the land. They leave their homes. They leave their property. Where does the authority come from? This land belongs to God. Leaving it, the rest of the village. We are working on laws to track down and punish fugitives, the village elders and mayors who could escape. Among them are these farmers and peasants. Then you'll see the card appear for the first time. No one walks around the country without having their name on it. His description is from the village of Ayr. What brought you out of it? The town has permission from the town chief, and you're leaving. No, whoever does not have this card is not welcome. He evaded justice and was punished. Wow, this was in the time of Muhammad Ali. This was during the time of Muhammad Ali. This was the beginning of the state. Modern, of course, were very normal now. People, they all get a card and see this as a system, right? They know that this is state slavery. The modern era began with Muhammad Ali, who was a fighter. Of course, there will be efforts to combat tax evasion. There are two types. I'm currently talking about combating tax evasion. We'll get to the taxes soon. To combat draft evasion. Oh, Dad, what a story. Okay, yes, it's a big story, of course. Okay, fighting tax evasion has led to the disintegration of the social fabric. Social interaction among people, or the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sought refuge, disbelief and extreme poverty. Extreme poverty breeds disbelief. When people are placed under extreme pressure, they disintegrate. Their social connections are real. Therefore, the issue is that so-and-so runs away, and the issue is that the rest of him, the village, is paying the price. All of this has led to people are reporting on each other, or that he's the village chief. He reports the enemy's limit as if he were going to escape. If he wasn't going to run away, or if I, for example, was present he's in my house, but I know my neighbor is going to run away. I will pay the tax, and I will also pay his tax. What does the person who leaves end up doing? It makes me turn to the authorities and tell them the man will run away because, for the whole world, there is a rift in society, meaning a huge rift means the Egyptian people, those who have always stood together. As we said, one of the characteristics of Egyptians is that they are attached to their land, and this is one of the characteristics of Egyptians. It is because they are united and supportive of one another, and this is something about What has not happened since that time until now means individualism is on the rise, and this is the nature of the modern state. The modern state needs individuals, not clusters, and I don't want them. So the important thing was, it was a tremendous event that people were running away and then being brought back. He stayed and arrested her, so what does that mean? The farmer, the only one. Oh, the land is good, sometimes people run away, and it's Sabbath, and sometimes a village, of course, sometimes in some. For example, some districts or towns would agree, they all run away together, so no one stays in the area. For example, there might be 10 houses, or something less or more, which are still matters. They all flee together to the empty lands. Bart, what was Muhammad Ali doing there? He sometimes gave them as gifts to foreigners. He gives it as a gift to foreigners, and the neighboring villages are required to serve them. By forcing it, the land will be taken from the hands of its original inhabitants were taken from it, and it went into the hands of foreigners. Memoirs of Nubar Pasha, one of the famous ministers during the era of the Alawite dynasty. He was valued in this. The book states that 400,000 acres went to foreigners. That way, 400,000 acres. Of course, the endowments that Muhammad Ali seized, or taxes were imposed on it at that time. According to Al-Jabarti estimated that 1/3 of the endowments were 1/3 of the land. The cultivated land in Egypt used to have 600,000 acres planted. The endowed lands amounted to 200,000 acres. Oh my God. This is Al-Jabarti's estimate. Until this time, Professor Muhammad Ali was Ottoman governor, nor did he become independent from. No, it's not like that, nor is it with each other. This is parallel to that, of course, because when I speak in some topics, I'll bring you the development of the topic, meaning not some of them he started before that, and some of them he completed. But he is Muhammad Ali for all time. The Ottoman Sultan was recognized as the Sultan. It means he is fighting the Ottoman Sultan and admitting that the Sultan meant one of the amusing situations here. Ibrahim Pasha's son, when he seized Damascus, and on the basis that he doubted Ibrahim Pasha's loyalty and Muhammad Ali to the Ottoman Sultan. Odd, imagine. Yet, it means that he took the country and the Levant from him. But legitimacy is not evil. Legitimacy, or okay, so Muhammad Ali until the very end, and he is keen on this issue of legitimacy, and he even gave up about all his dreams, just like we said when she confessed. The Ottoman state ruled Egypt, and Sudan belongs to him and his children after him. So, is this political maneuvering or what? Seriously, I don't want to mess things up too much. It's definitely political maneuvering, but ultimately, it means adhering to legitimacy. Abu Tiller, it always makes things easier for you. Rebellions. Yes, let me give you a simple political example. For example, in our modern world, what we are going through, who is the legitimate ruler in the minds of the people? Our time is the ruler who brings elections. It means the governor brought elections, but no one. He goes around telling people, I ruled you by force. The one in power says, the people chose me, no matter what. Dick was a dictator, but he had to hold elections. He visits her, but the legal form is not valid if he doesn't do it. Or, it means a ruler cannot come to power without elections. You understand, this legitimacy is important to him. Which of the rulers? Yes, political science students tell you that Sharia legitimacy is the difference between ruling by consent and ruling by force is complete. So in this manner it means Muhammad Ali Tayyib returned to their agriculturalist ideology. Only, yes, the only farmer in Bard experienced another tremendous effect. He is in the time before Muhammad Ali, people used to grow what they loved. Every person sows what they want today. This cotton crop was good, people want it tomorrow. Tomatoes, then I want beans, whatever it is. Someone plants what they expect to grow. Its market will be booming. No, when Muhammad Ali came, he told you, no, everyone. He plants what I tell him to plant. Oh, also, yes, everyone should plant what I tell them to. Yeah, against his will. Why,
مثلا
teacher,
طلع
does he say I am from this country?
المصريين مشهور كان
For
زمان
example, Egyptian cotton was
عندهم قطن
famous. There was a
طويل
time when
حتى
cotton was
الناس
famous in their
السياسيين
region
بيحبوها
and was
ويشوفوها
called
هواية.
cotton. Long stipple, something
فأنا
like
أبصر
that. For
الصورة
textile
على
people, they like her and see her as
شايف
competent.
زراعة
So I'm
القطن
good. I'm looking at the global market.
ستأتيني
And I
بالفرص.
believe that cotton farming is what
تمام.
will bring me success,
فبالتالي الناس
with
كلها بتزرع
profits.
قطن يا جماعة.
Okay, so everyone will
خلاص
grow cotton, right?
زرعوا قطن فأنا بيعمل إيه محمد علي
Okay, so
بينزل
they
جدول
planted cotton, so what's he doing? Muhammad Ali is
القطن
releasing a
بيتباع بالسعر
schedule. For
الفلاني
example, a
للفلاحين
bushel of cotton is sold for a
كل يوم
certain
بالسعر
price.
الفلاني
The
وبعدين
farmers
محمد علي
sell it
لازم
to
يبيعه
Muhammad
بالسعر
Ali
الفلاني.
for such and such a price, and then Muhammad Ali goes home to the
طبعا
market
الجدول
at the
ده
price. The
فيه
second, are you
طرق.
aware? Of
الجدول ده
course, this table is
علشان تشوف
good. I
بقى
remembered.
شناعة
This
طغيان محمد
table
علي
is so you can see
لحد ما
how
وصل
awful it
للناس.
is.
في
Muhammad
كتاب اسمه
Ali's
بناء
tyranny,
الدولة.
to what extent did he exploit the
كتاب
people?
هو
In a
مش
book
عبارة عن
called Building a State.
تقارير
The book
سفراء
Building a Nation is a
غربيين عن
collection
دولة
of
محمد
reports.
علي لدولهم. يعني
Western
سفراء
ambassadors from
من
Muhammad Ali's
جماعات
state
سفراء
to their
فرنسي
countries. It
كتبوا
means a
ريبورت
French ambassador who lived in
لفرنسا.
Egypt for a
واحد
period
بريطاني
of
وواحد
time.
أمريكي
He
وواحد
wrote about Muhammad
فرنساوي
Ali's policies and his
كتبوا
appeal to
لو
France.
بدقة
One
يكتبوا
Briton, one American,
كتبوا
and so on. This is a
مجموعة
book
من
in the
الريبورتات
highest precision tools.
لدولتهم.
I'm not saying that
وطبعا اللي
he
كتبه
wrote
ده لا
it.
هو حاكم
No,
ولا
he
كاتب
didn't
محمد
write
علي،
it
هو
for the
بايت
public.
أحيانا يعني.
He wrote it for his
وكتب
country.
حاجات
And of
عجيبة
course, what he wrote is
لفرنسا
neither intentional nor
والبريطانيين
Karim Mohammed Ali.
والفرنسيين
They're
ووزارة
sometimes friends.
القصوى اللي
You
بيعملوا
will
محمد
see
علي في
strange
فرنسا.
things. Oh, sniper
واحد
guard,
فرنسي بيقول لك
Westerners,
بيتحول
they are
لجندي
astonished by
أمريكي
the violence
في
and
فترة
cruelty he
30 سنة
commits.
ما
Muhammad
بيقدرش يعمل ده
Ali,
30
there's a
سنة.
Frenchman among the people who tells you the agricultural
الدولة تخضع
transformation that the
للانتهاكات
revolutionary government implemented it.
ولا
The French
يبالي
woman,
بما
30
كان
years
له
old,
بما كان
didn't
على
get
ذلك
paid by
الفخ.
this man.
يعني ما عندوش
Second,
إشكال وما
everything
عندوش
is
دماغه
subject to the
بالإخراج.
Pashas
الناس
wins.
تموت
He
من جوع
doesn't
وناس
care
تموت
what
من
he
عطش
had
وناس
or what
تموت من
happened
السيول
after
ومن
that.
كل
The
ما
effects mean he has no problem with
يعني
that after
مثلا
that. The
واحد
world is
زي
falling
رئيس
apart.
الاتحاد
Things are getting worse.
الفرنسي
People are dying of hunger. People
أراد
die of
علشان
thirst.
يحفر
People die of humiliation.
السكندرية
And yet
الإسكندرية
all of this is not enough. It's not
فأصبح
on his
يجند
mind.
الفلاحين تحت الصوت بالكرباج.
So the
فأنجزوها في
peasants
10
went
أيام
out to her under the sound of the whip. They
لكن لازم
completed it
ننتبه
in
إنه
10
ما حدش
months,
وقف
which is
يفرح.
a great achievement, of course. But everyone will forget that
شوف
12,000 farmers
إخراج
died
أمة
there.
المصريين دي يعني كل
Look,
ده
these
تاريخ
reports
مجهول.
of
الدولة دي
Egyptians
فاشلة،
dying.
دولة محمد علي
All of
وإخراجها
this is
فاشل
unknown
وإسقاط
history
الملك.
because the state of Muhammad is still Ali or its continued
طيب
existence.
طيب انت
But the
انا
conclusion
بس
now,
بره من
look, I
تركستان
said from the
حاضر
beginning I'm going to
في
get
زراعة
away.
بس
Things are
الزراعة
from
فاشلة.
me. Okay, you see, you take the flour from every Buston and
الزراعة
Amchi.
دي
Professor Muhammad
لازم
quickly in
تدرس
agriculture. But in
ازاي
agriculture,
ندخل مصر
why? We need to go
سوق
to the
الزراعة
recruitment office
ولازم
now,
ندخل
in a
مصر سوق
little
الزراعة
while.
العالمية.
I'll go, I'm here, just a
المصريين
moment. What's this
كان
about
ذاتهم
planting?
يكفيهم
The problem
الفخر
arises when he becomes the sole farmer.
دلوقتي
He brought
لا
Egypt into the
دلوقتي
global
هم اللي
trade
بيفتحوا السوق
market,
العالمي.
meaning, what
يعني
does
هم
Egypt
اللي
have to
بيسوقوا
do
السوق
with a
العالمي.
global trade market? In
القطن
the
ده
past, Egyptians'
كان
agriculture
مكاسب
was sufficient
المكاسب
for
رايحة
their
لمين؟
needs and had a
سوق
surplus. They
القطن
are now leading the
اسمها
way. No, now
مجالات
they are the
اسمها
ones in charge. Part of the global
بيخسروا
market
وما
means they
بيلاقوش
are growing.
بقية
All of it is cotton.
المحاصيل
Cotton.
اللي كانت
This
بتتاجر.
brought profits.
ما بيلاقوش
She's going
بترول،
to
ما
the
بيلاقوش
pastures.
طماطم، ما
But
بيلاقوش
what if it's the
بقوليات، ما
cotton
بيلاقوش
market for
سمسم، ما
some
بيلاقوش
reason? One of the
القمح اللي
reasons
هم
was that she
زارعينه.
wasn't earning anything. They
فبالتالي
lose and can't find
مصر
anything
جزء من السوق
left. They
العالمي
couldn't find
الآن
the
في
crops
لأول
they
مرة بقى في
needed.
التاريخ.
Beans
مصر
don't
تكتفي
mix.
نفسها
Tomatoes don't
تكتفي
mix. They
بحاجتها.
don't eat legumes.
تمام.
They don't eat
طيب
sesame. Wheat
الصناعة
because they
برضه
are
الصناعة
growing
واقفة
what? Or it's
زي ما
no
مصر
longer
اتطورت
enough.
كده.
For the first time in history, Egypt is neither self-sufficient nor does it meet its
جامايكا
own
الصناعات
needs.
الذاتي.
Okay, the
تمام كده.
industry is also the sole
وبتخدم
manufacturer, just like what happened with
ناس
the conscription.
بيشتغلوا
That's how it
وبيعملوا
was with
مواقع
Muhammad Ali
يدوية
too. He
وشغل
destroyed the
فلاحين.
craft used to be
محمد علي فتح
industries.
مصانع
How?
للقمح
These
كله دول
handicrafts
يلا
weren't
يلا.
just people who work together,
والمصانع اللي
but
بتعمل
there were
القمح
brotherly ties
مثلا
and work,
محتاجة
morals,
عمال أكتر.
teachers, and stuff.
مشي
Muhammad Ali
هؤلاء
told you we
الناس
will
مصر
build factories,
بما
all
في ذلك
countries.
النساء
Let's
بما
go
في
to the
ذلك
factories
الأطفال
and the
ينقلون
factories that,
شغلهم إلى
for
مصانع
example,
ويشغلوا
Muhammad
ناس.
Ali is doing it, but it
العيلة
needs
كلها رايحة
more
تشتغل في
workers,
المصانع دي.
people, including women. are forcibly transported there, including children. All countries shipped to the pasha's factories. The whole family is going to the palace. She works in pasha's factories. Okay, so in the end you sell at the price he set. The pasha and the pasha will sell it back to you at the price, which is specified, meaning no one benefits. It is cultivated, but no one benefits from its production. The average citizen is not the beneficiary, but rather the first. Once again, humiliation has befallen Egyptian women, which is at this level of what? They are forced to go to the factory. The same thing is said in the issue of trade and what I'm trying to do with you. The subject, therefore, the state has become a person. This person is the one in control in everything there is, and by the way, not everything. These projects are successful. He does them according to his mood. Many of them fail, and many crops are ruined. Many businesses are failing, and many factories are failing too. And it's okay, to hell with it, meaning all the loss. In the end, who does it always end up with? On the people. Arhar. Okay, since he entered Sudan, I'll go now. Regarding the topic of conscription, or why did he enter Sudan? We said that he initially wanted to increase the amount of the slave, of course, didn't know how to get along with him. The soldiers brought by the Arnorks and Albanians, the Circassians, did not get along with them, considering that they meant, yes, there's a case of rebellion among them. They're people who aren't used to it. Humiliation. So he wanted to seek refuge from the soldiers. So he went to Sudan. My point is, of course, he went to Sudan to get gold. When he found no gold, he brought soldiers. Soldiers, as we said. So, out of 20,000, 3,000 of them were in an hour when he headed to the recruitment of Egyptians. How did Egyptians see it? Recruitment. Of course, recruitment into the Pasha's army was. It is like an arrest. You're not doing anything. Firstly, you took from the house and from the village, and the family remain. A soldier under the Pasha. Does anyone know when it will come? No one knows. Does anyone know? Whether you live or die, nobody knows. This topic is not related to her. There's no truth to that. In addition to the humiliation within the Bashar army, because the Egyptians wanted soldiers, but he did not want them. These soldiers, does that mean they advance in rank? No, the army leadership, and even its middle-level leadership, will remain from the Circassians, from the with the help of the rebels. He executes her and hangs her naked on the village entrance. This is a level of humiliation and depravity that has never been seen before. It occurs to me that the limit is. This means the fracture that Egyptian society has broken, and this a model of the fracture that Islamic society has suffered. That's why we start this idea with Muhammad Ali, because he was the first to do this, meaning this Napoleon could not bear to do it, or later the English could not bear to do it. The client is more ferocious than the original. This means the client becomes more oppressive towards his family than foreign occupier, or this means it's a consistent habit. So anyway, the revolutions were suppressed. People kept running away from conscription, running away from recruitment, began to struggle against it. Regarding the issue of methods of evasion and the card that we mentioned it, and the punishment of the town elders, mayors, and village leaders. If someone or some people escaped from them, why didn't they? You find another way, so it becomes. One cuts off his finger or gouges out his eye. Oof. Or he puts rat poison in his eye so that he gets infected by working temporarily so as not to be eligible for military service. Or Muhammad Ali had made a threat when he discovered this matter. He vowed that whoever does that will also go. The army takes him on non-combat missions. He punished some and punished those, including women. So you mean your hand can't fire a gun? Come on then. You will row in the ships. Yeah, or it will be in logistics. No, you're not going to laugh at me. You won't get out of the. Yeah, and it was humiliation, meaning I heard that he even took in people with special needs, special for the army. And sometimes, what is the point of every measure taken by the state? What happens in this way? Sometimes people exploit it for their own benefit. So now I'm a leader in the country. Okay. So-and-so is actually blind. I'll go and report to the authorities that so-and-so has essentially taken. He had his eyes closed so he wouldn't be drafted into the army and then go and take him. Yeah, so he actually took some patients and some of their relatives. Special needs of this type mean, yeah, you have a state of evil and injustice. So, other people are settling scores. Under it means, okay, speaking of compulsory military service, Professor Muhammad, I read that it was mandatory at first, and then this soldier took him by force. He returned wearing his suit, his weapon neatly arranged and ready. He tells his family, I eat meat and spicy rice 3 times a day. Days a week. So people started saying to you, Oper, well, we're the same. Nasir Sekerji. Zik, Iro, Shuf. Recruitment then became a matter of personal choice and transformed into nationalism means something like that. There's some truth to that. There's some of it, but I just want to tell you that this is the novel. Nationalism. This is the Egyptian novel that does what? She's trying to lessen the impact of this on this fact lessens the impact of this reality on people. When you narrate history, it is true that Muhammad Ali was after. One of his procedures is that he put, after that, the maximum service period is 7 years. He told you, no one will serve us for more than 7 years. And then a little while later, he said 5 years is fine, and after a while his project is complete. All day long, he dispersed many armies, meaning the whole thing is over. Okay, but this statement was indeed one of his methods. Of course, he's eating them and drinking them right now. He doesn't do this to take care of them, but rather, he makes them for his army. Okay, and he wanted to use the sheikhs in that, group. No one can refuse military service. This is jihad in the path of God, and this is resistance. Religious discourse remained focused on the interests of Muslims, even though Muhammad Ali hates the sheikhs, but religious discourse. He kept encouraging people not to shy away from recruitment. Part of the reason they didn't evade conscription was that they return. Some people are on vacation to talk about what they find but this was neither the general picture nor the image, even if it means that which can be referred to in the midst of all this, in the midst of all this hell. It means mother, the one whom the people appointed. Yes, okay. So when it came to the conscription issue, it was also a mess. Secondly, it's a big deal for Egyptians. But what happened when conscription was introduced? He brought a general named Saif, and he was called Suleiman. Why was the French Pasha named Suleiman Pasha? French, because people weren't accepting that. It is an infidel who trains and leads them. He declared his Islam, so that he can tell them, I am a Muslim and things will work out. And then he returned after he had gone, meaning at the end, his life, of course, and he was buried in Egypt, by the way, but, so, of course, Suleiman Pasha is Nazli's grandfather. She is Merafward, who is the mother of King Farouk. Yeah, Nazli died later converted to Christianity. Those who wrote its history mentioned that she converted and returned to her grandfather's religion. So he pointed out that this was so-and-so. So he wasn't actually a Muslim, right? Okay, how does the modern army differ from the army? Islamic. It is a truly disconnected army. The connection to values is severed. The connection to religion is severed. Muhammad Ali refused to allow Al-Azhar students to be conscripted. The people who know his religion and have a religion are exempt from military service. Therefore, the demand for Al-Azhar was one of the means. Evading military service, that means at that time I was drowning. This means the corridors of Al-Azhar Mosque are full of students, and no longer does the one who seeks knowledge seek it for the sake of knowledge itself, or not. He requests it to escape conscription. Yet, that army was established on the modern secular model, which is the leader's order, a sacred order no matter what. This is, of course, a huge paradox for Islamic military service. Of course you know that Islamic military service was built on, or show what is in it, the saying of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The Prophet said, there is no obedience to a creature in disobedience. When will God answer? When one of the soldiers told him, "Our prince ordered us to do such and such. It was against Islamic law," meaning the prince set it on fire. He said, "Enter into this fire." They refused. He said, "Didn't the messenger of God command you to obey me?" "I'm not the prince," they said to him. "If we enter," they said to him, "we'd only entered Islam in order to leave it." Then they returned to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. They told him that, and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "And peace be upon them, if they entered it they would not leave it." No obedience. For a creature who disobeys God, obedience is only in God, the known. Okay, now let's talk about the general development of modern armies. It is the origin of armies in which the command is sacred. The leader, a competent, professional soldier, is a soldier who, the commander's order is carried out, no matter how immoral it may be. And for that reason, Muhammad Ali Kafir became a soldier who killed his father. He was in a rebellion, meaning the soldier was sent to quell a rebellion. In his village, the soldier killed his father. Ahar, Muhammad Ali rewarded him. Yes, because this is the ideal professional soldier. Yes, well, this is another trace of military service and its effects. The third effect is that he worked on what he called al-Masiri, the functional group. You know, when you take a portion from people and then go and put them in a specific context, they are given special values and dressed in a particular uniform, especially, and they are given special advantages. These groups quickly transform into a group, especially separated from society. That's why it's friendly. By the way, it's something that all countries have done. So, there are benefits for the army clubs and army restaurants. Special benefits for the army. All of this creates the functional group. In al-Masiri's terminology, it means a group that has no social roots, which the state uses to control the society. This Egyptian army, it seems that its collection began in the 1820s. So, the first thing that happened when he appeared was his achievement, or his victories were against the Ottoman Empire. During a period 1830 to 1831 to 1840, which is the period in which Muhammad Ali invaded the Levant because he was. All of this is done by the Egyptian army. Yes, and before that, he was also in the war in Greece. Okay, wait a minute. I wanted to say something important. Okay. He gained economic control, built an army, and organized and recruited soldiers. He forced, ground, and kneaded society. That's the important thing. It's clear. He is in the project of his bed. Anatolian fish, his project, Muhammad Ali. If we wanted, let's summarize it in one sentence, Mr. Mohammed. Okay, no, we can't summarize it in one sentence, because it's Muhammad Ali's project. This is the subject around which historical narratives are built. After that, Tamim Muhammad Ali. Everyone who came after Muhammad Ali started attributing things to him. A project, I mean, the man isn't coming, and there's something going on. He has this idea that, for example, I want to rule all of Egypt, and all of the Levant and Iraq, and I want to overthrow the state, Ottoman, and I will become the Sultan, and I will become the Muslim state. Has something like this. No, the story just grew in his head little by little. I think that we're the ones who made it busy. I think she's gotten a bit too big for his britches. This is my opinion, that she's grown a little in his head. But what's the problem? The problem is that every group has its own people. They thought they could bestow upon Muhammad Ali a project of their own making. Okay, that's the problem, for example, and on. This idea leads us to the question of why many parties agreed to polish Muhammad Ali's image. Why did Muhammad Ali become praised by Sunni people? Different. How could we say that Muhammad Ali is the first to end Islamic society and the first beginning of society? Secularism, the modern state, or centralism? Okay, look, sir, at the national historians. Egyptians love to glorify Muhammad Ali for him because, in response to and entering into a dispute with the occupation, the Englishmen who controlled Egypt for 70 years, when the English took control of Egypt, what are they saying? They say we are the ones ones who elevated Egypt. If we develop Egypt and implement reforms in Egypt, then what should anyone who wants to expel the English say to them? No, Egypt really did have a renaissance and it had reforms and she has wealth, riches and power from you. They even looked at Muhammad Ali. Part of the glorification of Muhammad Ali is part of the controversy, which was happening between the National School and English Occupation School, and not out of spite for the Ottomans. The Ottomans, other countries, other people are Nassanin. Then the Arab nationalists will rise again in the days of nationalism. Arabic. What will they say? That this Ottoman state was a weak state that plunged the Arabs into sorrow and grief. And the thing, and look, Muhammad Ali was the architect of the Caliphate project. Arabic. The man behind the Arab Renaissance project. And this is a revolutionary man. The Arab regions and his desire to seize them. Sudan, the Hejaz, and the Levant. Therefore, what was the attempt? Attempt to create a renaissance. Arabs against the Ottomans remain even in school. Nationalism became associated with Muhammad Ali's project and was attributed to him. Establishing an Arab renaissance and an Arab caliphate remains. There is a good Egyptian motive and a good Arab motive, and from them, with the argument, some incidentally occurred. Islamists who believe that Muhammad Ali was project to renew the Ottoman caliphate. He tells you that he saw the Ottoman state as weak. The Ottoman state, a puppet regime, was defeated and therefore, he took what Europe possessed in terms of strengths and wanted to renew the Islamic caliphate from its capital. The capital of the previous caliphate was Cairo. Okay. So the group is also secularists who, they see that Muhammad Ali was the first one to abolish religion. A little while later, he broke the sheikhs and broke Al-Azhar and brought Westernization, and Europe brought them here, and they see that Muhammad Ali, this is the beginning of an excellent opening up to the West, and the thing that Napoleon couldn't do, and his sorrow, Muhammad Ali did it, and his joy. So consequently, Muhammad Ali is the builder of modern Egypt. Muhammad Ali was the first one to bring Egypt out of darkness, the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages of Islamic rule, towards the Age of Enlightenment and the acquisition of power, European. So you have a number of parties who agreed on Muhammad Ali, but each of them attributed a project to himself. Then let's get started. What are you searching for in Muhammad Ali himself? He wanted to do it. You won't find anything more than that he wanted to. He wants a kingdom for himself and his children after him. But it is not clear. Does he have any project? It means there is no Renaissance project, nor is it even a possible idea to be the strongman of the state. Ottoman, okay, you know, like, you're for example, on the pattern. The Barmakids during the Abbasid era were modeled. But what is certain is that he was originally in his time, there was no such thing as patriotism, and in his day there was no such thing as Arab nationalism. Basically, it means he was ultimately an Ottoman governor, meaning a warly governor, Ottoman, but he wanted to be the most powerful governor. But he didn't think of taking the caliphate for himself. He didn't think of it. He claims the caliphate for himself, but he never thought of actually establishing a caliphate. He didn't even think about creating a state. That's what he is. He speaks about Egyptians with contempt, meaning the documents published about him show that he sees himself as ruling a nation of animals who speak to foreigners and tell them, I am better for you than the Ottoman Sultan. This Ottoman guy is a religious fanatic, but I'm open-minded. The Ottoman Sultan was a religious fanatic, but I, open-minded man. So Muhammad Ali, of course, does not have an Islamic project. That's certain, meaning he doesn't have an Arab project or anything. He has a national project. He has a project for personal glory, that the rule be his and his children after him, and proof that big one. Once he got this recognition by the Ottoman state, he ended his project, disbanded his army, discharged his soldiers, and dismantled his naval arsenal. All that remained of his state was despotism. But I don't mean a natural result. I mean in any rule in the universe means, which means it could end at any moment, i.e. what? A ruling begins. Yes, it grows, spreads, and controls. No, then, for some reason, the goals will not be achieved. Yes, the state was established and will end. Correct, meaning you agree that you just don't find anything in his words. Originally a project, it means when you find his enthusiasm, it means there's nothing. For example, someone has a project and he is satisfied, meaning he is dedicated to his project. He would be content to give up his sources of power if not. This project is being realized. So you found him content and he gave up his sources of power. What did you understand? I understood that his project had been realized, a country for him and his children after him, which is Egypt, Sudan. Therefore, this supports the possibility that it is him. This is his original project. Okay, and I told you the absolute maximum imaginable in his project. He remains the strong man. There is something important in the life of Muhammad Ali, or in the things he introduced are things we should consider. He greatly favored foreigners and Jews. In his style, his entourage was full of foreigners. Many of them were Jews. What's the reason? What's the reason? What I'm telling you is that he was a great admirer of Europeans. Okay, he followed their example and consulted many of their experts, and from their technicians and their military personnel, and so on. With regarding the reason, two reasons. The first reason is that he knew he was a denier, and rejected and unacceptable by society. Therefore, he sought to empower minorities, the same idea that Napoleon had done before. So, when you have the pillars of governance from minorities, these minorities are attached. With this ruling, she sees her life as dependent on his. Even worse than that, Abu al-Harith, his policy, which of course is also something that should not forget that Muhammad Ali did what no one else had done. Napoleon was also one of those who opened the streets, opening the streets so that the whole city, an exposed city and a city capable of reaching to her at any time, this was implemented during the reign Muhammad Ali, Cairo, during the time of Muhammad Ali. Of course, all of this is described in laudatory history books as a development, improvement, and modernization of Cairo, and transform it into a modern city. Well, among his policies were also the years he ruled the Levant, which is from 1830 to 1800, from 1831 up to 1840. These 10 years, what were we saying? Those were the years that witnessed its seed establishing the Jewish state. This is a fact that few mention in history. Muhammad Ali, important words, and I still can't tell you all the details. Or, my book summarizes the story of Palestine, and I mentioned this in the book. In the corridors of history, in more than one study in a book, in the corridors of history, research on the establishment of foreign influence in the Levant, the days of Muhammad Ali, and the second research dealt with Muhammad Ali. You will be surprised, Abu al-Harith, you will be surprised that it is 10 years. Muhammad Ali entered Syria, raising the status of foreigners in terms of care and as a percentage, for the sake of raising the status of Jews and Christians over Muslims. His case is strange. Yes, his case is strange. Al-Jabarti even mentions in Egypt that customs was taking taxes on Muslim traders, 10%. While taxes are levied on foreign trade, 2.5% in Mohammed Mesh. He is the one who allowed the Jews to reach the wall, al-Burak and his son. It is he, Ibrahim Pasha, because he was the one who conquered the Levant. Look, the story you told is an important one. And what happened with the Burak incident? The subject of the Western Walls is one Jewish man who wanted to. A place is being tiled in front of the Western Wall. Of course, the Muslims rejected the Jerusalem Shura Council. The Muslims refused, so the Jewish man sought help at the English consul. The English consul told Muhammad Ali that imagine an ordinary Jewish person wanting to do. There's no one like it in all of Damascus or in all of the government. They all issued a decision and submitted it to Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali enabled him to do that. He's tiling, and the council is saying, say this, meaning, This is Islamic endowment land and access to it is blocked. My father, Al-Gauth, stopped, and these are things that have never been seen before. It means nothing like this has ever happened before. Muhammad Ali during these years, the first time an English consulate is established in Jerusalem for the first time. The presence of a foreigner in Jerusalem remains the first Muhammad Ali. From the opening of the Jewish migration to Jerusalem and in Jerusalem has been transformed in these 10 years. The social balance means that the Jews have become the majority. After them came the Christians, and after them the Muslims. For the first time, Ottoman trade was prohibited and permitted. English and French trade was to penetrate to Syria. The Ottomans did not allow merchants. Foreigners are not allowed to enter Syria, nor are consuls. Foreigners were allowed to enter Syria by Muhammad Ali. They entered, and the English consul was escorted in a grand procession. And Hayder, the village, if it rebelled against Muhammad Ali in Syria, Christians and Jews are isolated, and Muslims are punished. The only doctor in the entire village is Christian, so no one is punished. The Jews themselves disagreed on these numbers, the flowing funds, and we worked with these flowing funds. New Jewish synagogues, and we do not operate them as residences for the influx of Jews because he was the first to allow immigration. By encouraging Jewish immigration, he was the first to. Foreigners entered the Ibrahimi mosque, to the prayer hall of Omar, to the prayer hall of Omar in Jerusalem, under police protection. All of this was, of course, a given. What kind of workers break and explode? The quarantine station he established in Jaffa generated revenue for the monks. Muslim endowments were being seized by other endowments. Christians and Jews used to nurture and develop it, disarm the Muslims and keep the weapons with them. Jews and Christians, what can we say? Oh, it's so strange, so strange. An unknown Damascene historian wrote a book called Historical Memoirs. One of the things I will never forget from his words is when he says, in a moment, a reception arranged in a moment, a huge reception for the sniper. The Englishman in Damascus says that the Muslims almost, their gallbladders burst. They ask, have the days of Islam ended? A young Palestinian man went out and climbed up in Nablus to the great mosque in Nablus with a large cross placed alongside it. The cross on the mosque, and he says, has the state ended? Islam is only for Muslims to rise up against this wicked man, the heretic Ibrahim Pasha, so he kills him. And people began to say that the Islamic State had ended. So, Muhammad Ali is telling you it's an occupation regime. Research and many other things remain unclear. By the way, I'm still, of course, in. I saw a document, but I don't know its meaning, and it needs further explanation. Further research is needed, but of course, the matter requires existence. In Cairo, due to certain circumstances, we won't discuss them much in the historian's work. A Lebanese Christian named Asad Rustam wrote 2 books about documents of the state of Muhammad Ali, a book called The Origins of Egyptian Royalty. The important thing is what he did. He described the documents. He described them in detail. It means he tells you a document that says such and such and such, a document that says such and such, including a letter from a Jew to Muhammad Ali explaining he has news of Syria and Iraq. News from Syria, Iraq, and Persia explains. This was before Muhammad Ali went to Syria. So the question here is, what is the relationship between the Jew and Muhammad? Why would a Jew send a message to Muhammad Ali? News from Syria, Iraq, and Persia, and is it really one and the same? Only a Jew can tell the news. Syria, Iraq, and Persia, or what was that all about? Leader of an organization or group, or at least president means a number of eyes and spies. This, for example, is a document that leads to meaning it needs to. The search behind it, as Muhammad's documents, is still ongoing. Released from it, or so, there are still unclear in Egypt. Yes, there are many complications in obtaining the documents, and most of those who obtained the documents, they received them because they were students from universities, foreign. This means means that there are still many documents for foreigners. My brother, that's the problem, I swear to God. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, one last thing, I won't keep you long. A Jewish man named Moses Montefiore. He was a big businessman at the time, like Murdoch. These things these days, walk, and will say, are Moses or his walk. That's how this man pronounces it. The first thing he saw was how vibrant the world was in Damascus. He asked Muhammad Ali to give him 300 villages as rent. In Palestine, Muhammad Ali told him, unfortunately, this story is not from the authority to tell this story rests with the Sultan. What do you think? Get the Sultan's approval by any means necessary. Foreigner, and I'm giving you autonomy in it. Hey, which means your dreams, I will fulfill them for you tomorrow. Now, like this, and these are the 10 years in which she grew up. It includes the idea of establishing a Jewish state in Palestine. This idea was previously held by the dervishes and the rabbis and poets before that, but the Shawat. These are the countries that nurtured the idea. Establishing a Jewish state in Palestine. With the politicians and in parliament. And yes, to journalism. I heard that Moses from Tareekhna, after he performed this procedure, he wanted to do hostile stop things like that. Then they brought a decree from the Sultan. They turned it into a settlement, not a hospital, something like that. It means story. Look at these 300 villages. What a thing. Besides the things that were done in Jerusalem and Wa. Around it are the things that were done in Jerusalem and Wa. Around it are oil presses, soap factories and workshops. And all these schools are for the purpose of creating a Jewish elite. Or it was made with Jewish funding and under Muhammad's rule. The Jerusalem Shura Council, which ruled Jerusalem for the first time. Once, Muhammad Ali brought in Jews and Christians to be part of the government in Jerusalem in the incident. She's famous, but I won't say anymore. Let it be a surprise for everyone, or they look for it. Its name is the Badiri incident. One of those convicted of murder, Muhammad Ali Afi, was acquitted. About him completely. Look at the Muslims being exposed. It means absurdities, wonders, and oddities to such an extent that the Muslim master was entering into the protection of his horse's groom was Jewish or Christian. The entire army of Ibrahim Pasha was storming. He turns mosques into horse stables and doesn't go near them. Churches or monasteries. All of this. The sources I'm talking about, all of these sources from people who love Muhammad Ali or from documentary sources, and now I am pointing to the places where I mentioned it in detail. For those who don't believe or are surprised, please refer back to it. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, tell us about. They mean they'll say we'll talk in 1 hour and 50 minutes. You know, we explained it to Muhammad Ali. Someone wants to tell you, brother, he has nothing. And we didn't give him his due, by the way. By God, we did not give him his due. Well, there are also supporters of Muhammad Ali. Supporters, too. Muhammad Ali, they're standing or sitting, listening to us. I'm telling you. Is it possible that this guy didn't do anything? Okay, so what does that mean? The one who is counted and the one who is not. Exaggerations, He built a truly centralized state, and we see bureaucracy as something bad, but in some people see it as a good thing, and therefore it works. A true historical shift, meaning it cannot be denied. That's what they say, meaning, okay, what other updates did he do? Military is an early industrialist. Early is following. It's not mandatory military service, but it's also work, weapons, factories. The work of the arsenals you referred to is the work of missions. His education system started sending people to study abroad. What's wrong with that? His job isn't good, but it's not good either. Missions were in medicine, engineering, and what else? You want it, and it's all there. Even in industries, the defense is for the people, and therefore it is what is called. Take Egypt out of the Middle Ages or the centuries. Central military. A genuine independence from the Ottomans, sir. The knot that comes up every time the word Ottomans is mentioned. Our text is making us faint, telling you that he's the one who did it. Is true independence from the Ottomans guaranteed or not? Therefore, he waged wars against the Ottoman Empire. Wow, Chapin. Istanbul itself was threatened. forcing European powers to. The intervention forced European powers to intervention to solve our problems. And my master didn't even get the printer in. I swear, I forgot the name of the printer he brought for her. The name Jab printed it, and we now have a printer. Napoleon Bonaparte remembered unraveling it and taking it with him. Yes, but this guy brought us a printer, not all of them. Positive things, teacher. That's why he's called a builder. Modern Egypt. Why do we deny this? It's reasonable to assume there are negative aspects, as you mentioned. It's in the books, but the guy. This also means that this ruling is a ruling far removed from the standard. Morally speaking, I'm saying that we as Muslims cannot. We must certainly break away from the ethical standard, but according to the logic of a state like this, far removed from ethical standards, it's not like anyone who wants to rule. I'm coming. I want to rule on my own. I don't need to control you. Okay, I need to control everything. Okay, look, and you're mocking me because my project ultimately failed. It's normal. What failed after 40 years? I laughed at everyone for 40 years. Okay, pray for the Prophet. O Allah, send blessings upon our Prophet Muhammad. This argument happens every time I sit with someone and we bring these two words might lead someone to say, brother, he has no right to say that. What advantages, my brother? Be fair, my brother. I don't know. Yes, look, my master, everything you mention. These are advantages from the perspective of the group that I'm telling you, they're either secular or nationalist. Now, let me give you a simple example. He says, what are the foundations for true independence from the state? Ottoman. Yes, if I were a patriotic Egyptian, I'd say Egypt is the mother of the world, and we are the children of the pharaohs. Yes, of course, that's Meze. Okay, but come now and tell me, did a rebellion happen in Alexandria? And the Alexandrian hero, the hero of Ben Cass, was able to seize Alexandria. Egypt, you, Egyptian, do you see this as a championship or not? I don't see this as rebellion, nor do I see this as a tearing apart, nor do you see this as a difference. Or what do you see this as? Do you see this? True independence for Alexandria. You know, if the man, did the person who seized Alexandria live for 100 years or not, his history will be written in 200 years. The foundations of true independence for Alexandria. The Egyptian occupation was lifted from the city of Alexandria, the ancient city that was built before Cairo was built. We returned to the Mediterranean civilization and to memory. Alexander the Great. What is this? What does this mean for the general Egyptian public? This is heroism. This is heroism. Do not break up nations and tearing apart homelands and dividing peoples. Who is it? The group during Muhammad Ali's time liked to be independent from the Ottoman Empire. There's nothing, not even Muhammad Ali himself. So I am telling you, the one who keeps talking with this logic, he speaks from his point of view, the modern nation state. What I see is that this is Muhammad Ali. So for example, the idea that he created a bureaucracy, medically speaking, created. Is bureaucracy a good thing or a bad thing in the first place? I mean, I'm not surprised that someone is happy that Muhammad Ali established this bureaucracy himself. Now, when you ask him what the solution to the problems is, an Egyptian tells you to reduce job bloat and reduce the number of employees. Modernity was one of the factors that influenced it, including Muhammad Ali. He defeated her, or Muhammad Ali, with his army and administration, was able to defeat it. This is part of the entry, meaning, for example, IER. The update process will begin after, of course, we said, elimination of the Janissaries 182,526. With Mahmud Roman II, he later became a slave, the glorious one. And you have 1,839 and you have 1,856. Perhaps we will come to him in a future episode, God willing. And you, or perhaps we discussed it in the episode on weakness, the one from the Ottoman state, which is that you cancel Sharia law practically abolishes Sharia law. It doesn't abolish it. Theoretically, it means and equalizes between minorities and begins. A large functional accumulation is the main reason why it happens. We have many employees. What is the difference? This is a failure to recognize the difference between what we were and what have we become now, folks. Is there anyone? It is in the interest of peoples and societies that the state holds power. She remains in control of every detail, not us. Now people are suffering because every interest. How many signatures and stamps are required for this process? A permit, and how many trips? Aren't people suffering from it? That's it. Not everyone who calls for automation and entry in the mechanization process. She tries to save herself all this. The details are fine. Actually, it wasn't anything wrong, and it didn't. It is not true that the state remains in control of everything, but the state needs to remain in control. Everything creates an increasingly expanding administrative apparatus and inflation, meaning the employees are a heavy burden. It exists because it is becoming increasingly inflated and expanding. She starts monitoring everything and supervising everything. When you follow up on everything and supervise everything, they need someone to keep an eye on them. And it still requires a huge amount of dismantling in order to a huge increase in staff and institutions, censorship in order to control everything in society, and Bard controls the employee's situation. The ruler remains the only corrupt one, meaning now any place in any country has a certain capacity. A large number of employees will find more than one regulatory body in order to prevent collusion between the agency, supervisory, and among the employees themselves. Okay, these employees themselves, they also had a serious social impact because you instead, what was instead of what was, well, let me give you an example. Basic. Now, which would have been better, me and the Sheikh arguing, Murad, should we go to the Shafi or Hanbali judge? Nor does the thing rule in its session or rule from on the second or third day. We won't go to court. Modern, you can only judge after 2 years or 20 years. Some people have had their cases pending for 20 years, and the labor cases are delayed. Okay, why are people like this? I mean, what do you want to say? Look, how come people don't feel the corruption that exists? Why does the state remain in control of everything and leave things as they are? You only have one path to litigation, and that path is, it forces you into procedures and forces you to hire lawyers, and it forces you to wait from the system that existed before the modern state. The same applies to buying and selling. Now it's buying and selling instead of me selling, and I bought from Sheikh Murad easily. I remained. Now you must register with the government, and when you register, when the government takes money from you, the government will charge you fees. Registration fees. What will the country pay for? The employees will get their money from where they will spend it. People's money, and sometimes the state's money, goes inside it. A partner. Do you know when you buy an apartment, for example, or when you distribute? Is it inheritance, or what happens when the state has a percentage? This applies to every sale and purchase transaction. Which is better for people? It's not good. It's not good. It is not in the interest of society for the state to remain deeply entrenched. The state remains in control. The details, and that the state will retain an army of the employees, who are essentially a bloated class, a class closely tied to the state and a class with little competence. In general, I mean, these are the employee problems as they appeared in the whole world, didn't just appear in our area at that time. What I want to tell you, the point of view that wants to see this history, or I want the army's numbers have reached 236,000. I don't know how much of a huge number, bigger than an army. Ottoman Empire. Ud, he is telling you that yes, but this army, pay attention to what the army did. That means, okay, I know you're Muhammad Ali. The army's numbers reached, in some figures, 370,000 and 3,800. Okay, fine, but when I find this army, he only triumphs over Muslims. He only slaughtered Muslims, and the first thing he face, French and English infidels will go defeated. Tell me, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Bad, of course. Okay, so when you create a strong police force, but a device, this strong and professional police force is useless and ineffective. He excels at violating people's rights and oppressing them, or humiliating people. Yes, what is the matter? Therefore, things must also be measured by its purposes. I mean, do you know that you, for example, are one person? One woman is married to one man, and every day he humiliates her, makes her homeless, and exposes her to the elements, the street, and he hits her. If she ever thinks about divorce, someone will come and say, she has neither the shadow of a man nor the shadow of a wall. This is normal. It means that a person does not mean the matter in its intended sense if something that does the opposite of what it's intended to do isn't a good thing. Meaning, what did he tell you? Yes, it's a state action. Powerful, but people were using what they were. Partners in the state. The question is, I want to create a state. What about the people? I'm speaking apart from the ethical sphere. My parents and I want to create a country. I need to bring people in. They share the decision with me, but I'm not done with it. I'm alone. The original principle is that we Muslims do not. We cannot escape moral logic. No, that won't do. I'm confirming this point. Of course, it's good even if we go for materialistic logic. Even if, are we going to this country to serve the people or not? The people are the ones who serve the state. The state is at the service of the people. Oh, okay, but that's not what happened. If he made people serve the state perfectly, that means it is the state of Muhammad Ali, which was originally founded. To serve the army means he wants to create a large army. Therefore, a census was conducted, and consequently hospitals were built. When diseases began to spread among the soldiers, therefore, I sold the one who learns medicine, not the one who studies medicine. He put people in the service of the state, as they knew in the past. There's a nice saying I always remember from Dr. Mustafa. He is Mahmoud, may God have mercy on him. What does Dalauk say to you? He tells you there's a dilemma. I got it at the doctor's office in Britain. Someone has a disease, and we haven't yet diagnosed that disease. One Chinese doctor discovered a cure for lahash and went away. He brought a plant and said, if we put this plant on. Regarding eczema, the pestle completely caused a split in Britain. People say, come on, everyone, let's use this medicine which, its effectiveness has been proven. Yes, some people say this is a betrayal of the scientific method. This needs to be examined and subjected to toxicology testing. Test and until we are reassured that what it contains all these things, then we use it medically. The man who dies is not the problem, but we shouldn't interfere. The scientific method, that's where the idea of medicine emerged, in the service of humanity, or humanity in the service of medicine. Yes, that's the idea. You're now building a state, so that you can work or you like to be in a country. Why? Yes, to increase their oppression, control, and domination over you, upon you, and not because this country serves you and benefits you, which, at least in our Arab and Islamic world, the countries that emerged and their first model, Muhammad Ali, these are countries that arose to control and subjugate humanity. Humanity, not to humiliate humanity, not to exploit all resources, or so the people remained like prisoners. Our main question is, and the main point, Professor Muhammad, was about the dispute. What about the character of Muhammad Ali? I mean, they disagree about what he accomplished and about the price he paid. Society paid him for that achievement, and you made that clear. For us, this project is called the Muhammad Project. Ali brought humiliation and decline to society. This ultimately resulted in something called occupation. English, yes, the project failed, and the state weakened. Ottoman and his state weakened. Let me tell you something like this, for example. Consider, sir, 5 or 6, they are defending this studio against any attack. One of them said to them, no, I'm going to give birth. He defended him and went to gather their weapons, and you all stay put, sitting. Then he took his weapons and left, or on. At least, sir, he fought and was defeated. What happened? Or, that's it. That's what happened after that. There was a balance in society. Muhammad Ali absorbed all of this, so he left nothing in it. He was defeated, and the country collapsed after him. The country collapsed after him. Okay, there's something I need to do. And he was able to. There's something else I read that was similar to what I read about a group, those who love embellishment. That's the biggest proof. However, the period of Muhammad Ali Pasha was a period. Successful, Professor Muhammad, it's the Europeans you know, it was in their best interest. Yet, the truth is that the Ottoman Empire would fall, but don't fall into the hands of a strong man. Yes, therefore, they prolonged her life and stood by him for that reason. A strong man doesn't exist if Muhammad Ali is a strong man. And Naji will do these things. May God bless you. I swear this is also an important question, and it was not useful. The episode doesn't cover it. Yes, the question is why did the Russians and the British stop? Later, the French with the Ottoman Empire against Muhammad Ali here. This is outside the scope and context of Muhammad Ali. Of course, we are talking now in 1840, because people, I mean dates, are important in understanding policies. Now 1840. The Ottoman state remained as it was before. Almost all of them were taken from, except for Algeria. In 1840, that's it, because the collapses will come after that. I mean, it remained in the 50s and the 60s, the 70s and 80s are here, landslides and shrinkage, but now, the Ottoman state existed in 1840, except for Algeria remains as it was. This includes Anatolia and the Levant. Along with it, Anatolia, the Levant, Iraq, and the Arabian Peninsula, and Egypt, yes, art, and of course, the Balkans, and you have the Balkans and Romania, which are Al-Aflaq and Baghdad, meaning you have large areas. Okay, it means the rebellion that occurred against the state. The Ottoman Empire experienced a kind of decline and formalization. Also, the Greek revolt of 1829 and 1828. This huge, enormous country was considered. There are three forces that exist in the world at that time. The Russians are a major rising power, the English, the French and Austrians, I mean countries. The Europeans are fine, and of course the English, the French, and also Austria and Germany there are internal rivalries between them, but each of them is something else. One with the Russians means Europe is between them. Internal divisions and wars, but they are with the Russians, meaning they are backward, and the state, the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman state, if it were, it fell while we were talking about 1840. What will happen? What will happen is that a world war will break out between all these forces, divided their legacy. The medical profession in 1840 did not like this. The choice, she doesn't like that the Russian fleet, after what the Ottomans had him besieged in the Black Sea. It opens and enters the Bosphorus Strait and the Strait of Gibraltar, the Dardanelles, and it still has a route to the Mediterranean Sea. They don't like it. They don't like it. It's the Russians who. They spread out on both sides of the Ottoman state from. On one side, there's Romania and Bulgaria, and on the other side, the Caucasus, and therefore when Muhammad Ali broke the armies, the Ottoman state reached Qushir herein. At that time, the Ottoman Sultan did not find power. At that time, Sultan Abul Majid had assumed power. He is 16 years old. Okay, so we were still. What do you mean? In the. Yes, Abul Majid No, I made a mistake. No, I made a mistake. This is a slave. Mahmud Roman II was Mahmud Roman II in 1840. By 1840, it would be Abul Majid who. Hey, come on over to Abul Majid. The first glory is that of Abu Abul Aziz and Abu Mahmud, Abu Abul Aziz and Abu Abd. Glorious. So what will happen here, sir? In 1840, the Russians offered. They sided with the Ottoman state against Muhammad's ambitions. Ali, whom the English and the Russians both see. The French were in charge because of Muhammad Ali's connections. Strong in French, and the French are the most in his court, among his entourage, and among the influential figures. For example, an English ambassador says this country doesn't need anything. However, it doesn't mean one or two positions to be French Algerian dress, or it means a complete French occupation. That's what. To prevent the outbreak of a world war, to prevent the Ottoman Empire from falling into the arms of the Russians. This calculation is a major international calculation. Muhammad Ali's power, and here Muhammad Ali stopped before. This European pressure aims to preserve the state. The Ottoman Empire is weak. We prefer to take it piece by piece, better than the Ottoman state entering into Russian influence. Or, this is true, and it prolonged the life of the Ottoman state. Saying 70 or 80 years is another option, but of course not based on this. Fate is still a factor when we talk about Abdul Hamid, for example. You will find other collapses, but this is the general policy. I'm speaking about it. The English and French accounting systems, English and Russian calculations, and the French, towards the Russians, said it was dangerous that Russia expands, or that the Russians expand at the expense of Ottoman Empire, or so, at that time, the preservation of the Ottoman state was achieved better than her sudden fall like this. Of course, his son Ibrahim was upset, meaning that he didn't finish it. Of course, Istanbul means he was upset, yes, but in the end the conspiracy will happen. It means that in the end it will happen, meaning who will be responsible? The Ottoman Empire will eventually fall. They are also the English, the French, and the Russians. Yes, so that we don't leave anything out, I mean, something in the same place, which means those who are also standing with Muhammad Ali. Furthermore, he refused to allow the entry of foreign products. Returning to the topic of the economy, they pressured him that the market is open to foreigners. According to some sources, she's talking. No, all of this happened after 1840. The Europeans asked him not to deal in Ottoman currency. Yes, and it's also, no, that's not true. All this talk collapsed in 1840 when the markets opened for foreigners, and 1800, and after that the goods, foreigners are present in Egypt, and that's what it means. This led to the transformation of the economy. Egypt was under a centralized economy in the hands of Muhammad Ali, towards an open, liberal economy in the hands of foreigners. That is, he was the only manufacturer, the only trader, the only farmer. Tamim defeated 1840 and left the world open means signed a free entry agreement. The goods, it means it's part of the treaty. Yes, so, the Egyptian economy paid the price on both occasions. The people, once they paid him to Muhammad Ali, and once they paid him to foreigners. Directly, if Muhammad Ali was, he didn't ask, I forgot to mention something. A task, Muhammad Ali, from the continuous lines that it was, his policy is to sow enmity and hatred between sheikhs of Al-Azhar. They are the ones who originally appointed him and denied Omar Makram, and Omar Makram denied getting involved in the animosity between Omar Makram and a sheikh named Sheikh al-Sadat. We mentioned him in the French campaign, in that he was imprisoned and his property was seized because he was present in and in support of the Second Cairo Revolution. As soon as Sheikh Sadat died, Muhammad took over Ali on his property. The sheikhs were surprised. This one was a captain. The supervisor was one of the great scholars. And then this guy, you were his girlfriend, said, by God, Sheikh al-Sadat was a collector of money. We need this money to fight the term Kharijites refers to the Wahhabis of that time. He is the one who intervened in the appointment of Al-Azhar sheikhs for the first time. Once upon a time, the eye of the eye, meaning the eye of a sheikh. Al-Azhar, contrary to the wishes of the scholars, he is Muhammad Ali, and then he means that he opened that door for the Sheikh of Al-Azhar to become, for the first time, 1812, which is when Sheikh Abdullah al-Shakarwi passed away. He was the Sheikh of Al-Azhar during the campaign. The French are the first time the sheikhs have gone to him. They say, the position of Sheikh of Al-Azhar is vacant. Do you want us to appoint someone else? Who, horror and
فهو الذي ابتدأ تعيين شيخ الأزهر محمد علي وهذه كانت ضربة كبيرة أيضا أعطيت لي
Muhammad Ali, and this was also a major blow for scientists, for society, and as a new addition to authority. Okay, if someone asked Professor Muhammad, what does that mean? Muhammad Ali's legacy continues to this day. we are still in the country that created it. Muhammad Ali in terms of tyranny and despotism, where centrality is in terms of foreign influence, in terms of adopting secularism and distancing oneself from Sharia law, where control is over all resources. This is all Muhammad's effects. I love it when people read Sheikh Muhammad's article. Abdo wrote an article titled The Effects of Muhammad Ali in Egypt, published in Al-Mana magazine, of course, published in the works, the complete one. But if they wrote it on Google like this, it would be a wonder. Muhammad Ali in Egypt will receive an excellent summary. During the period of Muhammad Ali, or yes, of course, it started with his children's period and we entered during the British occupation. It's a long story, but we're in the axis of colonialism. No, Professor Muhammad, we still have a collection of communication is extremely important. The most important thing will definitely come with us, God willing. God means Sultan Abdul Hamid has a special episode, hopefully, with God's help, if you have no other there. Any comment, feedback, or important information you'd like to share? She says, I'd love to hear a summary of that from you. The answer, or look, of course this question should have been, we are talking about Muhammad Ali and his sons. Yes, but the matter took too long. Yes, so we'll leave this episode for Muhammad Ali. Then we'll come. In a future episode, we'll talk about his children and what they did. He is Abraham and Aber's seed, Ismail and Torfik. Because the period is a single period, which is the period that occurred under the title the first successful model for destroying society, Islam, and the implantation of the modern Western state. In short, we can say that all tyrants, all despots that do you see them? They're like Sisi and Gamal Abdel Nasser. Ataturk. Weber means they are all students of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is the most dangerous person to have appeared in the East. The past 200 years, I don't think anyone other than Muhammad Ali could have done that. He does that. The truth about nations, I don't think anyone else could have done what he did. Okay, God willing, I'll finish the next episode. Perhaps we should begin with the sons of Muhammad Ali, and from there, we can continue with a very important file we were preparing. He has the Algeria file, but we will study it with God Almighty's help and discuss it. With God's help, we will decide on the episode. How will things go in the future, Professor Muhammad? If there was a sentence, I mean just one like that, because we remember it and put it there on the wall, that is, it summarizes it. What lessons can we learn from the era of Muhammad Ali Pasha? What can you say? Yeah. Unless it's too difficult, I'll think about it and put it in place. There, it's really difficult. Leave it to me, I'll write a summary there, God willing. When you see it, when an episode is released, you'll like it, God willing. God Almighty. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Muhammad. Welcome. As for you, my brothers, wherever you may be, don't forget to share this episode. And I know we've opened a very large file. Its branches are too numerous to be covered in one episode or two or 10, but as we're used to it, we take a question that is urgent or similar and we answer them. So please excuse us. Sometimes we are not telling the story in its natural sequence. We are not concerned with recounting history verbatim. Yes, but before that, Muhammad Ali in general, and we went. The most important things that answer the question, the salt we mentioned at the beginning of this episode. If you have any additional information, please add it to our list. Comments are needed so that we may benefit from them and spread goodness. Don't forget to share this episode with everyone. May God protect you. Until we meet again, to watch more programs about history, Islamic history, and to learn about its events and victories. His defeats led him, and his scholars are his events and secrets. Governance, politics, wars, and battles are none of your concern. Just follow our history channel on YouTube. Our history from the furthest point in the past to the furthest.